love mangoes. You guys?
Mango people are nice. Who are mango people?
Mango Squad, suit up!
Like we question.
I don't know if I'm
Oh,
cutting out or
hello.
silent.
This is Grace. Let's see if her camera
Grace.
comes on.
Oh wow.
Hello.
Here.
Nice
You
to
guys
meet
hear me okay?
Mabuhay!
Totally.
Yes, we can hear you quite well.
Awesome.
All right. Let me just make sure I'm recording.
Jeff, your camera
Let's
glitched
go with
out.
her.
Yeah, I know, because I'm switching screens.
Magandang gabi.
Wow.
It's nighttime back home. That's true.
I'm gonna be like Chris.
Oh wow.
English
Ang
and Tagalog.
galing talaga.
Wow. You
Yeah.
guys is-
How come Christopher is not saying anything in Tagalog?
Hindi siya kasi magsalita.
Oh,
Oh my
Nakakaintindi
I
naman
think-
siya.
I don't know what to say because I don't know.
Hindi, wala siya.
Bonus you?
Wala.
I know nothing.
Wow, we're in the same boat, I guess. All right, Grace, you want to introduce yourself?
hi. So it's good to see everyone. Christopher, for all the times that we hung out together, he always talks about you guys. I've seen a couple of
Of course.
videos as well. So let that, resonate with you. Think that in your heads a little. Honestly, like he always said nice things about you guys. So it's cool to meet you virtually. I'm Grace. So I know Christopher from Utica College when I studied there for a bit as an exchange student. And yeah, I was told that today he wanted to go back to one of our first conversations, which is about me roasting him
Oh, gosh.
about Filipino culture. I'm kidding.
There's
But
probably
yeah,
a lot
he's a
of
good
that.
friend. Awesome to be here. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
thank you for
So
coming.
it's nice to finally meet you. We've only heard nice things about you too, but the majority of us pretty much haven't met
My
you.
goodness.
So
Okay. I don't know what nice things Christopher could have said, but as long as, I'll take your word for it.
Maganda sarap.
Oh my.
Oh, that's cute. Thank you.
Yeah, Carl. Look at Carl laughing. He has a smug face. Look at that smug
I mean,
face.
I'm just gonna be.
first and foremost, like the biggest question that I got really is that how much does it cost to be an exchange student here in America?
That's a great question. Honestly, for me, I don't think I hold such like great knowledge how much it costs, just because for me it was a full scholarship from the Philippine and U.S. government. So I didn't have to pay for anything, just my passport. But I work now in international education, so a lot of the students that I know from private colleges, they want to go to the States, they have to prepare at least $30,000.
Oh,
$60,000. So it's a lot. It's a lot, especially if the state that they want to go to is a place where there's a high cost of living and all that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was the big thing, like New York is, as you say, if it's a state where it's a high cost of living, I would say New York is among the top there for high cost of living.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I was so shocked with the sales tax. It was like when I started buying stuff,
Oh,
yeah, there
and
you go.
I found out that I had to pay more in the counter. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then tip. Yeah.
So what's the tax in the Philippines? I'm curious.
Well, for that one, it really varies. We have a different, system for it here. Ultimately, for the goods, it's pretty standard, but you just don't know anymore sometimes. Like sometimes it depends on the area as well. Similar with the states, like it depends per state. But yeah, it's pretty big as well, especially with the current administration.
Oh no. Oh
I
god.
I don't want to go too deep in
administration. No, yeah, trust me.
yeah.
The last thing we want is for your internet connection to be canceled because they're listening to you.
Or me to be abducted, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
Now,
Oh, yeah,
now we
silence,
just gotta be careful about that. So delicado. So, I mean, that's impressive. I will say, full scholarship. That means that you're obviously an overachiever, and that's why you're able to come here for free. So that's what I'm piecing together at least.
Oh, interesting. Christopher can confirm.
Oh,
I'm
definitely.
not sure.
So she's definitely an overachiever. What
She's
did you
very
say you
smart.
studied again?
Sorry, what's that?
She,
Oh, yeah. So I was asking, like, what was your field of study that you were studying while you were here?
Yeah, I studied communication and public relations.
It's actually really good to study in another country, because then you're actually like learning how to communicate in the world. That
Yeah.
actually that's something that I would do probably if I was studying in another country. I just don't know where I would do it. You know, like
Yeah,
is there a
it's the first step.
Is there like an
Mhm.
American to Filipino exchange student like direction? Because you did it from the Philippines. to
Yeah.
here. I wonder if there's like a reverse direction.
Yeah, there's definitely stuff like that, I'm pretty sure.
Exactly. For example, for me, it was through the Fulbright Commission. So they also fund the students in the States to go back to the Philippines.
Is there like a
It's
lot
kinda
of
like
programs?
a literal exchange.
Yeah,
Student.
there's a lot of there's a lot of programs. You can be an exchange student, you can be a researcher, you can be a fellow. Yeah, so there's a bunch of programs out there for sure.
Too bad
I
you
know
never
that
see
the
those
Fulbright
pamphlets
for
for it.
Japan is popular, right?
Yeah, like Japan, Korea. I don't see
Yeah.
that many for the
Yeah, I think-
Philippines. They need to do some better PR.
The slots.
it's probably not
Maybe it has to
marketed
do with
heavy
the funds. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I was
what I
gonna
have
say
in
that.
mind too.
Mostly the money that I was thinking too. Everyone should visit. Everyone should be thinking about the Mango Land more. to
Yeah,
be honest.
speak.
Oh, yeah.
This is one
Traditional
of my
mango.
biggest questions.
There you go.
Why is it the mango squad? Why
Ooh.
mango?
Okay.
This is a deep
Why not
question.
coconut?
Why? Why?
Oh,
Chris?
coconuts. Because mangoes are
Chris,
better
why,
than
Chris?
coconuts.
No, well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Coconuts are good though.
Well, that is one
Okay.
reason, yeah.
But Coconut Squad doesn't come out as well as Mango Squad, to be honest. And the brand's been
And also,
on
there's
since
no-
like
there's
8th
no
grade.
Oh, yeah.
Brand.
Yeah, we've been
Wait,
to
Chris,
Mango.
why don't you explain why we started mango? Why mango?
Well,
I
because
mean-
Explain it.
It's Chris and Mikey's creation. so
yes.
I think it's best if he explains that one.
Well, wait. It's my creation. He came up with potatoes. I came up with mango. Just get this
Okay,
right. Let's get this right.
Fair enough.
But let's see how to.
It's a culture.
Yeah, yeah, and mango is like, you know, since we're Filipino and, you know, from childhood you get mangoes from the start. It's like you grew up with, like, you know, your grandparents cutting you some mango and it's like, oh,
welcome
this
to the
fire.
stream, whoever's viewing it.
And
Go for it
we kind of just
Is this a
started using that.
requirement for all Filipinos?
No, but I would assume we would have that connection with the mangoes because you at least had one memory with that.
Okay.
So
Every Filipino had a Filipino mango except Chris.
what is that supposed to
Carlos
mean? What?
had at least one. Come on.
Wait, yeah, Grace. What's the difference? Because Carlos says there's a lot better sweetness in the ones from the Philippines versus the one that gets shipped to here to the U.S. from the Philippines, and I don't understand.
I've been telling you this since the day we met. The things that you know are definitely in some way. No, honestly, for the mangoes, it's just, you know, one of those things. I don't even know where they get it from the Philippines because the mangoes in the Philippines also taste quite differently depending on the region and all that. So I would say for me, from my hometown, I've always preferred it just because it was extra sweeter than in some places in the Philippines. So I definitely agree that for sure, it's not the same taste as you would be able to get from here. You have to try it
Yeah, it's
so,
very
to
different.
know.
Mango plus bawang. It's a
Eventually.
Ah, so good. Yeah. My words won't do justice. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's why we hold the mango to such high regard, you know.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Noted.
Although the meaning of mango has been twisted and altered over the years. So
Yep. Anyone can be a mango.
yeah,
Exactly.
at the start it was just okay.
Mango
if
at
you're a
heart.
If you're a Filipino, then you're a mango. Now it's if you're anyone that's not white, you could be a mango. So. And
That's
then
not true.
Oh,
You
Anyone
could be
can
a mango. Like John's a mango at heart, Jeff. He's a
okay,
mango
like,
at heart.
John is like one of those rare exceptions.
he's
where
he's a potato on the outside and a mango on the inside, just like yesterday.
manga sa loob, patata sa. What did we say for skin? I forget the word for
Ba-
skin that we say.
Kutis
Balat.
or
Kutis
yeah.
or balat. Yeah, balat was the first thing I was thinking of.
Yeah.
If it wasn't clear, Tagalog was my first language, but ESL made me forget everything. So I'm sad.
oh wow.
I have to relearn the language.
Oh.
now.
All right.
Nicholas, you have to have Filipino mango.
mean,
Okay.
that-
Someone
that
to
is the-
smuggle some in?
They'll be bad by the time they get back.
Nah, that's the only thing. Yeah. Nah, just go to like the Asian market. You can get a Filipino mango from the
It's
Asian
not
market.
the same.
I
Hey.
know. Nothing will be the same as an authentic Filipino mango. I get that.
Straight
you
off the
know?
tree.
Yeah.
But you can
Oh.
you can get close, or at least
Yeah, they have like the
relative-
Mexican ones. Mexican and
I've had
Indian.
like 2 separate attempts of trying to grow mangoes here, both in failure. But
Now-
it
now
was
here's-
sad having to throw it away. I was like, oh man.
No, on the
Worth a
topic
shot.
of
Worth
fruit,
a shot.
what's your favorite non-mango fruit back home? This could go for anybody, actually. Now I'm curious. Like, what fruit everyone would choose as their favorite besides the mango? Because I was
Hmm.
gonna say it's langka, it's jackfruit, but that's
Mm.
biased
Mm,
because
good.
my dad will always buy that. That's been his favorite since childhood.
Do you like jackfruit? Do you like durian? Or no?
See, that's the weird thing, right? We love jackfruit, but my dad and I can't really do durian. My mom loves it though. She's like, y'all are weird, but my dad and I are just like, no, you're the weirdo, not us. So,
I agree. I don't like durian either.
is it just the smell that gets to you?
It's
Or-
a texture thing too.
Yeah, I think it's a
Okay.
texture thing too.
That's fair.
It's a little, well, actually, I haven't had it too much.
That's what my brother Aaron said. He said that, look, I can just close my nose and the smell is gone, but I don't like how it feels in my mouth. I said, all right, you know what? Everybody has a different reason not to like it.
for the Philippines, mine would be Chico, but you can't have that in the US, so I'll
Mhm.
choose pears for the US. Those are
Okay.
my other 2 favorite.
I think we only had that once though.
Race, how would you describe a Chico to someone that never had it?
Yeah.
Actually, never had one as well. Believe it or not.
Really?
Oh.
What?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
live
God.
there
This
and
is
you never
not
had
like
one? Wow.
Yeah, I never had one. Not that I can recall. Maybe I had it when I was a kid because we had a lot of fruits in our backyard. But I don't recall eating it intentionally.
Hmm.
That's fair.
Guess.
Yeah, the Philippines
very
you can
different.
grow fruit in your backyard.
Yeah.
I would say
I
kinda like
think. Mhm.
like a brown kiwi that you could eat the skin, but sweeter. It's the closest thing.
That's-
Ooh.
I mean, we shouldn't make it all about my experience in the Philippines. We should ask the authentic
Yeah.
Filipina here.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a perfect
about your
transition. This is a perfect transition to where we start talking about, like, you know, growing up in the Philippines, like your childhood, like, you know, where you grew up,
Yeah.
and then we'll compare it to, like, you know, how we grew up in the U.S.
It's probably
Well, I grew up in a very small town in the Philippines, and as I've mentioned before, we had a lot of fruits and trees in the backyard. So, my favorite, other than the mango, is this fruit that comes from a tree right across from our mango trees. So we had this cotton fruit. Have you ever heard of that before?
cotton fruit.
No.
Now
Okay,
I'm
you have
curious.
to.
How does it look
You
like?
have to Google it. Well, it's yellow and it's round, and it definitely tastes like cotton in that it's soft. Like the texture is very soft, and yeah, it's really
Oh,
good.
yes, it is.
Sweet.
Wow, I've never heard
Did you
of
see
that.
it?
I see it. Yes.
Is this something that only grows like in your region?
Philippines
Or-
and Malaysia and Indonesia.
It's a good question. I
Oh,
think
really?
it's popular in maritime Southeast Asia.
Okay.
I've never had that, but
Yeah.
I've seen that actually.
You
They're
got that?
rare.
Seen that? It's really
Where
good.
They're
Yeah.
rare.
Wait, Grace, did you get that from Google? Because that's exactly what it says. It's a tropical
Oh.
fruit to maritime Southeast Asia.
I don't know if it's
Did
no,
you?
but honestly, I think because the reason why I said that was because I have this colleague in Malaysia,
Mhm.
and we are part of this office network called NUSA Maritime Southeast Asia. So
Mhm.
from there, like there was this time when we were talking about like what are you gonna bring? Like if you go to a conference in the Philippines, then everyone was just like, Grace, you should bring cotton fruit.
Not a bad choice.
Wait,
Not a
so
bad
so
choice.
what town is it? What town are you from? Just curious.
Bulacan?
Bulacan.
Bulacan. Bulacan. Where's that?
Bulacan. Bulacan.
Oh,
no.
it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember my
Close
geography.
to Manila, but it's not
Huh?
that far.
Yeah.
Like it's like another
That
Manila
far.
next to it.
I would say it's about 2 to 3 hours away.
Wait,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like a
isn't
drive.
it the mountainous region of,
No.
of back home? No.
No,
Are you
no, but it's close to the mountain borders, I would say. Like if you go farther from it, you'll see the mountains.
Okay.
I thought you're from Baguio. Or Baguio.
Yeah.
That's what
I
I
heard
heard.
that
Right.
too from Chris. Yeah.
So I
Yeah, I heard
also memory. So I actually studied in Baguio. I moved there for college.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's the summer capital of the Philippines, so I also had a lot of fun there.
Here you go.
Oh,
It's on top of a mountain.
how's the college there? Was it like a U.S. like open grass, many buildings, like you know?
I would say so. I would say so.
Yeah.
I've always liked it there because it's very rich when it comes to its culture because there are indigenous tribes there, and
Oh,
there are
yeah.
also American influences because it was colonized by the Americans. So there's that rich blend, I would say. But speaking of grass, I've always wondered like why U.S. universities always advertise their campuses
Yes.
using photos of students on grass.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all that.
I'd say
I
I'd
always
say like
do that.
yeah, totally. Because like I think the American dream does involve like a house with grass. I think that's a big part of the American dream. So there's grass everywhere, and I think maybe I wonder what percentage of America is taken up by grass or lawns. I wonder. But yeah, grass is a
Yeah.
big thing in our country, you know. Yeah.
I was talking with a friend about it recently because I thought about the same thing. Why it's such a big deal for a lot of American people, and my friend is white, so I think that it's nice to have a different perspective of things from him.
Right.
He said that it's not so much the grass itself. He said that the grass sort of acts as a symbol in a way for like freedom and openness in a way. So I asked him like specifically that, he said that a university campus, right? It's advertised as that wide open space. And a lot of American children, when they hit 18, they think of it as now they're free to be the adult that they want to be. You know what I mean? Like they can leave their parents' house, that they can grow up independent now, kind of deal. And
Right.
I think that seeing that open lawn on a campus kind of symbolizes that. It's like their life has a new sense of freedom to it. I think that that's the big thing behind it.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I've always thought that it's like it's communicating that there is no time wasted on a US campus. It's an
That-
interesting thing to sell. Feel like parents would be happy about that.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it too. There's always something being done on over here.
Yeah,
Well, that's
exactly.
the hope.
That's the
That's the
perception. I
hope.
don't know if that's the reality.
Oh,
Not every student,
No.
unfortunately, is like that. So
I'd be
fact,
on the
yeah,
grass.
for sure.
a lot of those campuses with open grass are also the party schools up there in upstate New York. So those are the schools
It will
where
turn upside down.
yeah, people aren't very productive, we'll say, up there. People are being more malande.
I
Upstate.
don't know. Upstate people work pretty hard too.
Well,
Um,
no, yeah, of course. You came from upstate, so clearly, like
I
Clearly
feel
the-
like the grass though. I think it's more of to do with like, actually the opposite of like being busy. I feel like that's free time because like if you're just laying out on the grass, it's like you got nothing better to do. You're just gonna like lay in the grass, maybe look at some clouds, get some sun. I think that's more of like you have the freedom to be just lazy on the lawn. It's like it's not all work, so there's time for leisure, type of stuff.
it's a good point, actually. Yeah, I should have thought about that. I
C-
mean, it's
'cause-
hard for me to relate. I go to school in the city, so my university is in New York City, so we don't have grass there.
Yeah, I would think that's
There's
like
not
busy.
that much grass over there, so it's a whole lot of building and street
Yeah.
over there instead. So
I know Grace has some opinions about New York City. I know that's one of her favorite places to go. So do you want to go
Yeah.
into that?
Gray Street.
Yeah, I just I like New York City. Like, are you asking like why I like it, or I'm not
Um,
supposed to defend it, right? Because I will not win that.
either or, you know, we could be as controversial out here as possible.
Yeah, the reason why I like New York so much is because it just has this really diverse population that I haven't seen when I went to Utica College. Like, you guys have to understand, I never went to any country outside the Philippines. I went to Utica College. So that was like my first time outside of the country, and I didn't see much. Like, I didn't see much people.
There.
I didn't see much people. I didn't see much people from other nations. That's what I wanted to say. And when I got to New York, it just felt like I didn't stick out. You know, I didn't stand out at all. At Utica College, I was the only, and this is an ongoing debate between Christopher and myself, because I was the only Filipino. Let's say it.
What you say? Oh, that you only meant well, well, cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best, cause it is.
I was the only Filipino. Let's say it. Filipino student. Christopher always said that he was. But I guess I would let the flag speak for itself, that it was only hung up there when I was there. So yeah, I like the fact that it, you know, felt free. I'm the type of person who always I always like seeing things happening around me. Maybe because my mind is so busy, so I kind of want the world to, you know, feel the same vibe for some reason. And in New York, like, everyone's just like, they have their own business and all that. So I really like it. I really like the old architecture there, Brooklyn Bridge, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like going back there whenever I can.
The first time I went there, when I went to Manhattan specifically, I was like, whoa. Like, you never get that feeling anywhere else in the world. And I still get that till this day. You know what that, did you ever get that feeling, Grace? That whoa? It's hard to explain it. It's just only New York
Yeah.
City.
Exactly. Yeah, there's something about it. I think there's some sort of charm in New York that it makes you feel like you can do anything, which I really like. And also, I've been to some other states. For example, I went to Denver, Colorado, and when I was there, the city felt so short because New York has skyscrapers, you know. So when I went there, I was like, man, like, I'm not the same as before because I have that, you know, first-hand experience of seeing something so big as a city. That when I go to other states and their city is big, it feels small.
Even as someone who lives in New York and that goes to school in New York City, like, I can't deny that I sometimes still feel that feeling. I may have gotten a bit numb to that whoa feeling because I go there every day for school back then. But even sometimes, let's say I'm done with class early for the day, and then I just look out to the city and I realize, wow, this is my city right here, you know? And then you think about all those things that you mentioned, like all the people that live here, all of the different cultures mixing together, everyone doing a different kind of work that they're passionate about, and then you really come to appreciate the city because of that. I relate with, because of growing up, that you don't see much diversity. Like, at least when I was growing up, I didn't see much diversity around me. But then when I went to the city, it's like, well, full on everything, the whole rainbow.
Yeah, how was your diversity during your childhood, Grace?
Yeah, the diversity that I experienced when I was young, I would say that in the Philippines, because I'm sure you guys know about this, that one of the values or characteristics that Filipinos have that are highly sought after, especially in the tourism industry, the hotel and management industry,
Oh,
is the Filipino's hospitality, right?
There you go.
So my only experience with diversity is that whenever there's like 50 students, right, on, like, in a classroom, and there's one foreigner, everyone will adjust for that student. That was my idea of like how mutual understanding between cultures work. And I assumed that it was that way for everyone. Turns out I'm not so right. So I thought that to be really unique to Filipinos growing up. But other than that, I didn't get like I didn't really meet any
Oh, yeah, yeah.
foreigners. I think I didn't have foreign friends until I became an exchange student, which is cool because one of the perks of being an exchange student is you get to have these friends from all around the world. So you kind of develop your tolerance as well for understanding different topics and all that, understanding that just because something is different doesn't mean it's defective, all that stuff.
How many international students were in your university? I'm curious, like, what percent do you have? Like, I know my college, it's freaking like
Yeah.
35 to 40%. It's crazy. How about your college?
Wow. I
Yeah.
think in Utica College, it was much lower than that. It was lower than 20% when I was there, I think.
I feel like it was like 2%. I don't know.
Yeah, right?
It's like the
Because
milk.
we always hung out together. Yeah, so it was a small group for sure.
But that year that you came, though, that semester, there was a lot of international students compared to like semesters before or
You
after.
here? Okay.
Felt like they really went all out. I was like, wow, there's like a lot of students here. I'm like, and I think I met, like, I was like able to connect with the international students more than the regular students on campus. So I was like, oh, let me go chill with them.
Like, I guess Chris is somewhat Haitian, somewhat, right? Yeah. Oh my God.
Which we're really trying to call him out on that.
We're all somewhat, you know, Jeff. We're from the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think about that?
Think about what?
School
No,
system.
what do you think about that, Grace? No. As in, like, what do you think about like Filipino Americans? Are they really Filipino, or are we just American?
I know
Yeah,
her
I know
opinion on
that.
that.
Is actually a pretty
Definitely,
damn important
definitely.
question
Yeah,
right
see,
there.
because definitely the Chinese.
So hard to talk to international students at my school because they have their own little posse and they're like all have like in a group chat or whatever, and then they just keep to themselves and they don't really interact, I feel like, with anyone else. So I guess that's what I guess like with big school is such a big international student like group, you can like stick with your people from where you came from. So it really sucks that like
That's a good
you
point.
just can't interact.
Yeah. So true, because that I would say that's one of the pitfalls of being an exchange student. Like when you go outside of your home only to stay within your comfort zone. But the whole point is for you to go outside of your comfort zone. So I definitely consciously chose to do things against that so that I wouldn't do that. So that I wouldn't just, stick with people from Asia, obviously. But I had good company as well that were Asian students. But to answer your question, like Filipino American students to me, or at least the ones that I've met, there's just one, Christopher. I've always thought
Oh my
that
God.
like Christopher had some analysis on Christopher. No,
Okay.
just because like he's the only one that I've met. Now I have students though. I have students who are Filipino Americans and they live in the Philippines and then they study for college in the States. And as their college counselor, I definitely see that the values have been like richly instilled in them by their parents. Like I can see, the kindness that Filipinos have, the joyful attitude, and all that, and also the traditional kind of respect that you wouldn't see usually
Of course.
with other people. So I think Filipino Americans are Filipino, just like in every way, like a Filipino, like I am. It's just that there are some things in the culture I think that sadly you miss out on, but it's okay. Like because you have
we're
two
missing
cultures,
out.
right? I mean, like there are
Right.
some things. For example, like the Filipino language, it's very very beautiful. I think I've always liked it. I think there's
Yes.
such depth in it that you can actually express yourself better in other languages if you know it, just because it speaks so much of the history and all that. So there are some things like that, but ultimately, are you really missing out if you're satisfied with what you have?
So, what is your perception of
What's
Chris?
that?
Can you clarify on that?
I think yeah, he's a
That's
Filipino. I
unrelated.
would approve. I would approve.
See, I'm
that
approved.
Chris is a
Mangoes.
Filipino.
Yeah. To me, since I consider myself as Filipino American at this point, it's a switch. When I'm in America, I act in a different way than how I would act in the Philippines. So that's how I kind of, to me before, when I was younger, I perceived Filipino Americans as kind of like fake.
Okay.
No, it's true. They're not really
Oh,
what you would
yeah.
expect
Okay.
a normal Filipino would behave, right? So then after a while, I grew to understand that's actually a beautiful thing, and that you need to embrace the culture that you're in and try to assimilate to that, and then you'll understand that it's not actually that they're fake. It's just that that's the current trend, I guess. That's the culture that's actually like blossoming.
It's like an adaptation, right?
yeah.
An adaptation of Filipino
Yeah.
culture to
Yeah.
be in America.
I think that's like the best word for it, an adaptation, because I would say that of all the people here, Carlo and I are probably the most similar in that regard. It's just that we both have a different origin as to how we perceive ourselves as Filipino American. Carlo was born back home in the Philippines, whereas I was born here. Yet, you know, we both have like the key elements of the culture. Like we both speak well, he's fluent. I'm still learning, obviously, but you know, we hold to a lot of the culture and whatnot. And I used to agree with him. I was like, you know, we're Filipino American. We're not really Filipino. But then, you know, getting into college, meeting the people at the Filipino club in school, and just meeting more Filipinos in general outside of our friend circle here, I realized that what Carlo was saying is true. That it's not necessarily that a Filipino American isn't a true Filipino, quote unquote. It's more that because you're in America, you are just default, like, it's normal to act differently because you're in a different country. That's just how it is.
When in
Like, I know
Rome,
that-
right?
When, yeah, because I know that when I'm back home, it is true. You act differently when you're around your, you know, your titos, your titas, all of your cousins, you know, all of the lolos and lolas back home. It's a very different way that you're going to act in front of them as opposed to how you're going to act here in America, you know? So
Yeah.
I already knew, I said, okay. So that's the beauty of it, that even if you're in a different culture, like my Filipino side while I'm in America, or my American side when I'm in the Philippines. So
You feel
Like,
like you ever have
The
any?
different points of expression.
Oh, you were saying, Kalesi? Hold on.
Do you feel like you have any downsides being like that? Like when you're such a mix of cultures that you're not like this enough and you're not that enough. Like you're not Filipino enough when you go back to Philippines, you're not American enough to be here.
mm,
Do you?
I, mm, I mean, I never really struggled with that kind of thing because, you know, mom and dad are both Filipino fully, but then I was born here, you know, and I feel like, you know, that whole first generation American thing, I feel like that's the perfect way to be 50-50 because, you know, since both of your parents have the culture of back home, you have to learn that culture, you know? It would be a crime not to. But because you're born here, you have to also learn the culture here because how are you going to like function in society, you know, if you don't know the culture here? But I
I
never-
think, Jeff, what I think of it as, so I think of it kind of like as sports teams. It's like, you know, you're a
Okay.
Yankee
Wow.
fan here, so it's like I'm Filipino here. It's like you know, if someone's like talking crap about Filipinos, you know, like I'm Filipino now, bro. It's like we gotta like jump in, defend my people. But it's like also if they like, you know, like I know there's this comedian who was saying it's like once you go out of America, all of a sudden you're American now. It's like you're not a certain race, you're American. So it's like I feel like it's like whatever team you're rooting for, it's like you could root for. It's like, you know, whatever game's playing, you're kind of rooting for that. So it's like I'm like Filipino and I'm American. So it's like, you know, it's like you could play for both teams, sort of. You know what I mean?
oh, that's
I mean,
definitely a way to
I
go.
personally like America more.
Why?
Oof.
Damn, you gotta go to BGC, Carl. You're missing
No,
out.
like I like the Filipino culture, but as a country, I prefer America. Does that make any sense?
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And right
As a
now, I can
country,
definitely
I
get
like
what you're saying.
the United States.
So,
What about you, Grace? What's your perception of America? I guess before you visited.
Before I visited, I honestly didn't pay much attention to it. I was very focused
Oh.
on the Philippines. I don't know if Christopher mentioned this, but I studied in University of the Philippines, which is known to have a reputation that, oh, it's all about the country, serving the country, the masses, and all that. So I had very little care about you know, other countries, I would say. I was mostly like interested in Southeast Asia, like that's it.
Oh.
And yeah, so I would say that before I got there, of course, I did a little bit of a research and all that, and just judging by like everything. I just always was drawn to the entertainment, like rich entertainment industry, because that's how it is. That's how you learn about the United States and the Philippines, I would say, other than it being built up as a colonial master years ago. There's also that fact that you learn about your your U.S. university setting, for example, from movies. Like you learn about Greek life and all that in movies, and you learn about New York and San Francisco because there are a lot of OFWs there. So there's really,
Right.
I
Yes.
think that was my perspective that it was more of an endeavor, like an economic endeavor to go there than to have fun there and travel around. Yeah, so that was
Yeah.
my perception. Like it was definitely a place where there are opportunities. I had little idea about the culture there as well. Like you're right, like what you have in the Philippines, you probably also have there as a different version.
What movie from America would you say best sums up your perception of America before you came there? Like if you had to name a
That's a
movie.
good question. Movie that sums up my perception of America. It's a tough one. What do you guys? Can you tell me like what your movie, like what your ideas about that would be to get the ball rolling? Because for me, I think I have to think about it a little bit.
I know that
Oh,
Eddie
without,
Murphy one, the Eddie Murphy comedy. What's it called? The one where he pretends he's a prince, but then he's looking.
yeah,
He's going to coming. Is it Coming to America? I think it's
yeah,
Coming
something
to
like that.
America.
It's coming.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
He comes to Queens looking for a queen, and then he's like immersed in all this like New York City. Well, Queens, even though it's not New York City, but Queens.
Yeah, I do remember that.
When I was a kid, the only thing I remember were like there are like yellow taxis, tall buildings. There's a lot of, I want to say, Caucasian. Um, so that was like the thing that stuck out to me.
Hmm.
And then a lot of like in terms of the college type of movies, I was like, oh, a lot of kids get bullied in America. Um,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
then
I had that too. I think
yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's
one
so
thing that I
common, and
kind of yeah.
I was scared of that.
And then it's more not scandalous, but people here are more liberal. That's my perception in the from the media when I was younger.
Trust me.
Like
That's
you could do
Treat
whatever
it like the
you want
grass.
in America. Like you could like pursue your dream. That was like the biggest thing that I kind of got from the movies. And then FBI stuff. They're very you know strict and stuff like that. But when I
Yeah.
came to New York, I was like, damn, this place is kind of dirty actually. It's not as clean as I thought it would be. Only because I lived in Ireland, which I thought was cleaner. So it's all relative.
Mm.
Yeah,
Wait,
but
wait,
Philippines,
you're
not
you're
as
gonna
clean.
fuel
It's
the
really,
Europe
yeah.
versus America debate now.
It's kind of
Yeah.
funny though because Carla actually knows one of my aunts or one of my cousins in Ireland because his mom worked with my cousins in Ireland, and when she came here to visit them, I was like, my mom was like, "Isn't that my cousin?" And she's like, "How does she know Carla and them?" It's like a small world.
Yeah, and your grandparents lived at my town. They worked there, and they knew my grandmother.
Small
But
world, 6 degrees of
yeah, it's like
separation.
it's crazy. I was mind blown.
How would you summarize, Grace, your perception of America after you visited America? Like, what would you say? Like, has your perception changed, or has it like been modified?
It's definitely a good question.
I definitely agree with what was said earlier that I've definitely seen a lot of movies, but for some reason I cannot remember any title or specific movie. But I've definitely seen a lot about like bullying and all that. So I definitely thought that I was gonna be bullied when I go to, of all places, New York. I never told you this, but actually, you guys, when I attended an orientation, so international students arrive first. on campus, get to tour around before the American students, the freshmen at least. And so, and they finally came on campus. There was this one big proper orientation for everyone. Everyone that's studying communication that year got called in this hall. We talked there, and then when they were asking us to introduce ourselves, I mentioned that it's my first time ever like in the United States, and I got sent to New York because it was not my choice. It was the choice of the U.S. government. They thought it was a good fit for me for some reason, and one of the students, this American dude, just goes, "Out of all places, you choose New York. Good luck." When he said that, I was really like terrified. Like, oh my gosh, it's gonna happen. What I see in the movie is gonna happen to me. And but after that, I found out that it's just a matter of really picking the right company. Because even in the Philippines, like there will be people who will bully me probably if I choose to stick with them when I clearly know they're not a good fit for my personality and all that. So after I left the United States, I thought I wanted to go back. I definitely did not have the thought that most um, exchange students have of staying there, like working there, just like staying there forever. I never had that thought. For me, it was more like, huh, good to know. Good to know that there are good people overseas that will be welcoming to you, and that those perceptions that I had before that I'm never gonna make friends there and good connections, they were pretty much debunked. What I liked the most was the type of culture that was just so warm, I think, and informal. Because in the Philippines, like we're a big fan of ceremonies. Even now during the COVID-19, you'll see a bunch of like, public events to make things official and whatnot. So there's none of that. Not. I didn't see that much when I
There's
was
no
there. And I
gathering
really,
of people. There's never like that kind of stuff.
yeah. Like, you know what? If we're gonna help people, like let's help people. In the Philippines, you know what? Before we help people, let's have a ceremony, ribbon cutting, have all the partners from these agencies, and then let's do it. So that's what I really liked about it. And you see that as well in the educational system. Like here, I would be terrified to talk to my professor, but there you guys have office hours where you can just talk to your professor whenever.
yeah.
So I would say a lot of the things that I think some students take for granted there, I definitely enjoyed. Like there was this guy that my roommate was friends with. They're both American, and they just said, "Grace, where have you been all night?" And I said, "Oh, I just did some homework and some stuff in the library." And the guy goes, "It's a library?" And I said, "Yeah, it's right there. You should check it out."
There's a library. That's what he.
Yeah.
Well, you actually brought up an interesting point that I'm curious about. You said you definitely would visit again, but you wouldn't think so much about staying here for work. And I'm curious about
Yeah.
why that's the case specifically.
Oh,
Like, why
that's a
only
great
visit,
question.
you know?
Yeah. Well, for me, the
Oh,
fact
wow.
that
This is
honestly, the fact that I have seen, the fact that I have seen how ahead the United States is, and you can call me ambitious, I don't really care. But for me, like the fact that I have seen how far ahead the United States is, and how far behind the Philippines is, despite having so many hardworking people, so many good people, made me realize that I'm not gonna be able to become part of any change. I'm not gonna contribute to the Philippines in my own small or big way if I will not bring what I learned to advance what's here. So that was like a simple equation for me. Like if I'm gonna contribute to brain drain when clearly I have opportunities here. I think it's fine to go to the States for work and all that. If you have better opportunities there, you have to do what's right by your family, right? You have to do what's right by yourself. If you have opportunities here that you can unlock, why not do it? Especially if it's to serve people from your own home. I think there's such a great need for that right now.
So what are you doing to work on those issues in the Philippines?
Yeah, that's awesome. So I actually am working heavily on education. So because I work
It's a big one.
for a foreign embassy in education in higher education. And actually on Monday we're gonna have this like event between um, diplomats from both sides. Just to recap some of our achievements. So I was really glad because the past weeks I've been so busy, but I've been working on tracking the results. For example, there was this university partnership that I worked on, and because of that, the Philippine University in the Philippines was able to produce their own alcohol because the supplies dwindled during COVID-19. So for me, that's a small thing that I can do compared to the big things other people are doing. But the fact that there was an opportunity to help out and I was able to take it, I think that's such a blessing, really. So that's one of many. But overall, I think I was able to forge around 60 partnerships. So that's a lot of students that were able to study in the States. Right now, they're doing virtual exchanges. So I'm really happy about those stuff.
Yeah. Has COVID-19 really affected the programs?
Yeah, we did. Because now no one wants to go out.
That's the thing, right? Like
Yeah.
no one wants to do any physical work. Everything has to be
Yeah.
done online, virtual, and all
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I also believe that virtual exchange, I believe in the power of virtual exchange. Like for us right now, for example, like we're able to exchange ideas and that's of value. So I also think the same applies with education, that virtual exchange, you can use it to make concrete impact in your community, but you exchange ideas with other people from other countries. So that's a popular model that I think we should still keep in mind because international learning experiences don't have to end just because we have travel restrictions, we have limitations right now, because we have pretty good technology that we can make use of anytime. So,
Yeah, like look at us. We're learning about the Philippines from you, live source. You know,
Yeah.
across the world.
Grace TED Talk,
Uh,
TEDx.
oh my goodness. I have a
We're
question
waiting,
though.
we're waiting.
I've been wondering about this. Do you guys practice this very popular Filipino tradition of mano? Like when you do this?
Oh, not
Okay,
right
yeah.
now, not right now.
Oh,
well,
I would
yeah,
still do it. I would
not right now
sacrifice.
during
A
COVID.
long distance one, I'll be like, oh, monopo, and then it's like from a distance,
Like,
You really do that? Bro?
6 feet away. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
it
Wait, how's it in the
Did
Philippines?
you do that before?
Oh yes.
Did you guys
No,
do that before?
We don't do it at all.
What?
I only do it to like Chris's parents, Jeff's parents, and Lloyd's parents, but I don't
Oh.
actually do it.
Okay.
Which is really
But
bad.
that's only Filipinos we know, though.
Wait. Wait, this is pretty funny. This is pretty funny. You know, Chris's grandpa says you shouldn't mono me because you're American. He's a Filipino from the Philippines.
oh, that's
Yeah.
an interesting point. Yeah, I
He's
do
just
was
being
really-
humble, you guys. That's what he was doing.
No, but yeah, like
Oh,
when,
he's trying to keep you on the ground. Gotcha.
Okay.
like whenever we hung
Stupid.
out at my house, I was like, "Hey guys, we should probably practice that because that's actually a Filipino thing, you know. Just like ask Mano from mom and dad. You know, we're always hanging out in my basement. We're always hanging out in my living room, right?
Give a little respect, you know.
It became a regular thing. Yeah, like you know, we'll come in, we'll hang out until like 4 in the morning at my house, but like you know, well they'll come in at 9 p.m. My parents are there in the TV room, and they say "Mano po," and then you know they do the exchange. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is beautiful, I love it.
Oh.
But we don't do it to
man.
strangers or anything like that.
Oh wait. If you got someone's
I would,
party
I
and it's
would.
like you'd be like, should I do it?
Fucking
Monopo?
respect, Carlo, you know? Fucking respect.
That's weird.
I'm less respectful now.
You American.
No, but the weirdest thing is, I went home to the Philippines and I had like niece and nephews were like 11 at this point, and they were babies when I left like 10 years ago.
Oh, did they try to
And
monitor?
they had to do that to me.
Oh my
like, oh,
god!
yes!
Oh.
Here you go.
See, that makes me feel old though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was weird. To give it to someone
God.
because I always just
Oh, that'd be
Ask-
dope.
no.
Oh.
I
No.
felt very comfortable.
I'll put
It's
some
like
alcohol on my hands. Like, okay, it's clean.
kind of feeling. It's
Have you
weird.
Have you had to give
You
someone
may
else?
receive my blessing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have you had to give someone else mano, Grace? Because then that's like the telltale sign. Oh, I've hit an adult. To be honest, that's what I felt, at least when I went back home.
Yeah. Like other people doing it to me. Yeah.
Don't worry,
I
I'll do
think-
that to you too.
Well,
Oh yeah, all of us. All of
for
us.
me, like no one has done that. I don't think maybe because I just have one niece and she's 11 months old. But no, I haven't had that. One interesting experience I did have though. So while I was in Utica College, I taught as a pre-service teacher in New York Mills Elementary. and I would walk there just to learn about students, pupils with learning disabilities, basically. And so I was teaching and all that. And my last lesson was about the Philippines because I was like, can I do it? Can I do it?
There you
So
go.
I went there and I had my Filipiniana, like Filipino attire and all that. So they were very excited about it because they haven't seen it before. They're grade two students. They were in second grade, and after my presentation, I taught them how to do that, the mano. And after that, each and every one of them came to me as a show of respect and did that. So
Aw.
like
There you go.
30 kids like doing that, and then the teacher did it after all of the students. So I
The
thought
teacher
that
did
was
it to you too.
yeah, and she's older than me, so that was pretty cool. But I would say that as far as like age is concerned in the Philippines, growing up, like I'm sure that you guys have been introduced to several titas and titos, like uncles and aunties, even though you're not blood, like you're not related to them by blood at all. So it's like at one point there's just like too much titas and titos. And one time when I was going to work, I would just walk across from my residential building, and there was this child who I can tell was from the province and is in Manila, where I am right now. And she called me tita. Like I was wearing my glasses, and I was like, "Do I look stressed today? I look old. Like, why did she call me that?" But yeah, that was my only experience when I was like, "I'm old."
Yeah, let's just explain what Tito and Tita mean for the viewers and what Manopo is in the viewers, and then we can talk about your childhood again.
Yeah. For tito, that's uncle, basically. Tita, aunt, and mano is like when you grab someone's hand and then you. Some people kiss it. Other people, if you bring it to your forehead,
I've never seen it
and it's a sign of respect.
before.
I've seen that in The Godfather, but not in the Philippines.
Shake hands, but for the older people, like you would shake an older, like you would do mano for an older person. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Has to be an older person for sure.
That's why, like, you know, if someone that's only a little bit younger than you asks you for mano, like, you're gonna think to yourself,
Oh,
am I
dude,
really that old? You know?
Yeah, that's weird.
when Jerryville came back from the Philippines, I did that. I was like, mano po, mano
She's
tita.
literally, yeah, we have a friend that's literally 1 year older than us, but she finished her nursing studying back home in the Philippines. But we all joked and it's like, it's Tita Jerryville now, haha. And then she's like, guys,
Oh my
stop
God.
that. I'm not old.
Yeah,
So,
I want to be called that too, but it's fine, I guess.
no,
Oh.
the experience for me is different. It's not Tito, it's Ninong Jeff.
Oh,
I have
that
a-
one's nicer.
I
I
have a
like that. You
godchild.
don't?
Oh no,
Yeah.
I like it, but I definitely felt I was like, it has a bit of an old ring to it though. I feel kind of
Yeah.
old hearing it.
Yeah.
It means Godfather.
Yeah, it means Godfather though, so I didn't mind it too much, you know. For me to have a
Yeah.
godchild back home, hey, I'm
Yeah.
happy.
I'm gonna make him an offer.
I like that. I like being called. Yeah. I think for Godfather, it's so nice to be called that just because the parents trust you enough to be the godfather of the child. So I think it's cool.
Can you talk? Oh, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was gonna say, Carlo brought up in America that he's thought this, like, follow your dreams is like the biggest thing that he got from, like, America's like, follow your dreams. In the Philippines, what if that's not, if follow the dreams is in America, what would it be in the Philippines? Like, what do they kind of like preach? Like,
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there a few things come to mind. I would say the most practical one is to just don't forget to look back when you get to where you want to go. That's a very important thing. That's also why Filipinos grow up knowing that they'll have to support their family. It's not a matter of conversation or discussion, it's a thing. When you go to college and you start working, you provide support to your family. There's no such thing as, oh, it's a burden and my expenses. I'd rather hang out all the time outside the country and spend my own money on me. It's not a thing. But that also contributes to a lot of people being heavily dependent, the younger ones. So there's a lot of conflict as well, but I like that, it's a real relationship and it's as much commitment as anyone will ever learn. I really like that. But then we also have this thing about defending your country when your government can't. And it's just a popular message today, and I
It's a
really
hot
like that
topic.
as well. yeah, that's a hot topic. But I honestly think that serving your country or like doing what's right for other people shouldn't be something that's praised, or it shouldn't be too high up there in the pedestal. Like being kind, no one has to be praised for being kind because that's something you're ought to do. Like anything you're ought to do, you're supposed to do. It's fine, like do it because it's good. It doesn't have to be something that should be recognized or go viral just because but I think it has become viral and has become so rare because not a lot of people have much patience, I guess, or a lot of what's being glorified in the media could be like mostly negative stuff. Yeah, I like those messages to that are generally communicated in the Philippines.
Amen to that. I
Yeah.
was actually that's good that that's what it is because I was thinking on a bit of a more wrong side. It's just like, oh, the general thing is just get an education because that's going to be your way to like
Mhm.
reaching something in life. Because even
Yeah.
here, uh, one thing I'll say that's common about Filipino Americans is that they preach education is a number one. Obviously, if you have a religious belief, they put that first, right? They say God first, for us at least, right? We're Christian here
Mm.
in our
Yeah.
family. But like after that, it's like, yeah, education on top of everything. We don't want to see you with a girlfriend putting her first. We don't want to see you putting like your friends or having fun first. No, no, no. Get your freaking education, It was always like that right away.
Yeah.
And I thought, if they're like that here in America, it must be even more strict back home,
Mm.
right? But I'm glad
Yeah,
that
for sure. Mm.
like what you brought up is actually different than that. That means that we carry a different value back home, and that it's
Mm.
that family is the most important. But
Yeah.
honestly, it is like that here in America too, for a lot of Filipino American families. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
my
But it's
webcam
not just your
died.
nuclear family. That's the difference. I say it's the extended
Yeah,
family.
Mm.
It's you kind of
exactly.
get set back in a way. You gotta get set back because you have to like support everyone. Unlike in America, you mind your own personal finance. You could. It's okay to leave your own. It's like it's encouraged to leave your parents' nest and you know
Be
work on
on
your
your own.
own,
On your own.
provide on your own, and then have your parents provide for themselves. In the Philippines, the goal is to provide for the whole family,
Yeah,
to stay together, which
Mm.
could be a limiting factor because then you're less likely to want to go to a different country and maybe work somewhere different. Like you can't pursue what you really want because what you want in life is not about yourself; it's about the family.
is
How
it
I
like
would
that
describe.
for you too, Celeste? Like, is family a heavy value for you guys as well?
Um, I guess for me, like just because our family's immigrated here for so long, it's kind of like what Carlos said. At this point, it's kind of just about yourself as a person. It's not so much about your family. Like you don't have to support your own family. It's like maybe if your parents are like, hey, if you make money when you get older, if you want to send us some money, cool, you can do that. But just live your life and be happy yourself. We'll support you as much as we can. I can't say if that's true for all Chinese families. I feel like
Hmm.
my family's like a little bit of the exception out of there.
Okay.
All right.
Because it's definitely. I feel like as much as we say it's a Filipino thing, I do feel like it is just a general like at least Southeast Asian thing that the family has an important value to be put in your heart as an individual. So I don't
Mm.
think that that is just a Filipino thing. I think that is like a major Asian belief that the family is an important value to hold to yourself, no matter where you are, because
Mm.
it's like what Carlos said with the individual thing. Uh, Someone got into an argument with me when I told them that I still live at home, and I'm like, but us as a family, we love to stick close together. You know, like what my brother said, like, yeah, he likes living away from home, but if he had to choose, he would still like to live at home anyway. He goes to school up in Buffalo, New York, so he lives up there, obviously. But he said that he still misses being home. Even just now, he only left last week. He said he already misses us. You know what I mean? So the value of family, I think, like you said, we really do hold that dear to our hearts, that we keep the family close. So
I think also with family, it's like the thing of respect for like elders, like people who are older. Like that's something like definitely Filipinos and like Asians in general. Because I have an uncle who's from the Netherlands, but he was talking about family. It's like what he sees in America versus like the Asian cultures. He notices that there's like big emphasis on respect for elders and older people in Asian cultures, and that's one thing that he likes about Asian cultures. That's like the respect for like parents, grandparents, stuff like that.
oh yeah, my
How's your
mom
parents
like
like affected your childhood, Trace? Like, were they strict?
turn off the camera for a
Oh
second.
my gosh.
She,
So
she touched
they
on that.
were, they were, the whole body language changed. They were very strict, very strict. I couldn't go outside. I think one of the fun things to do as a child is to play on the street, right? Like with your neighbors and all that. I didn't get to have that. But we had a big backyard. It's okay, but it's different when you have like other people with you, your neighbors, and all of that. So yeah, they were very strict, and as you guys mentioned earlier, like I was mostly just like going to house, then school, and then if there are other stuff. But that was it. That was it. But in a way, I think for me, there were definitely some unnecessary heartbreaks that I didn't have to experience. That I think instead of having those, I found my strength in other things. Because it's fine to have mistakes and have heartbreaks to fall every now and then. I definitely experienced some of those, but I would say that because they were so careful in like a good way, like I never felt like I was pressured or anything. They always found a way to explain to me, this is why we're doing this. So it's up to you ultimately. And I just had this instinct to follow them. And now I kind of reap the rewards, I think. But it's different. Like there are a lot of parents here, like my friends, they have parents that are absolutely strict. They cannot decide anything as long as you live under this roof, but you cannot go and live on your own. There's also that scenario. So, but for me, that was it. I would just say that the biggest thing that made an impact on me was my parents' faith. Because again, the Philippines is a Christian nation. I think what was hard for me was overcoming the religious obstacles because I don't think that's just my perspective. I don't think your faith should be based on religion, like putting your salvation and your life um, on you can possibly do, like good deeds, like religious activities and all that. I don't think it's that basic. I think that it's a matter of a personal relationship with God. I think it would have been so hard for me to anchor my faith on that, something that never changes, if I was not born here. I think I would have been distracted by other stuff. So for me, at least, like that's how it is. What about you guys? Your parents?
From birth, we were taught to keep God first from birth, at least in my family. So like even Aaron, my little brother, I keep mentioning him. Obviously, he's the one that lives away from the family. He still makes an effort to like attend mass on Sundays. Obviously now during COVID, that's not necessarily the case. You don't want to go to mass. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's dangerous, right? But like before the whole COVID thing, he would still try to go every so often. Obviously, you get busy. Sometimes you can't go, and that's understandable at times, right? But he said that he makes
Yeah.
an honest effort to try and go whenever he can, because that's how we grew up. That it was part of our family bonding too. You know, every Sunday we all have breakfast with each other, and then we all go to church together afterward. And
Yeah.
it's how my parents put it too. That it's a very good point they make. There's 168 hours in the week, right? Or yeah,
Mhm.
168 hours or so in a week, something like that. And they said you only have to devote one of that to God in the week. That's all he's asking for, right? And then when they put it to that, to my two brothers and I, how would you argue against that? You know, like all that God is asking for is just 1 hour of your entire week, and like if you can't provide that, like that would be pretty shameful, right? So we grew up as a family loving to go to church with each other. It brings us all closer together, and it reminds us of where we came from, you know?
Yeah.
Because like you
Yeah,
said, there's a lot of teaching that you take from church too. So
Yeah. Okay, I just think, like, to add to that, in this world today, where so many institutions that we have in place have, failed and have proven to be so fragile. Like it was just like one virus away, one hand washing away from like all collapsing. I think now more than ever, it's important to think like what you believe in, because life is just a series of decisions. So if you anchor your decisions on things that change, like your feelings or your circumstances or the traditions that people have in place that might be wrong, how are you going to live your life well? Because your reality affects other people's realities as well. And that's why, for me, I think it's such a great thing that in the Philippines, we're a Christian nation. Hopefully, people apply it. So that's a whole other thing.
it's idealistic to think like that, but you know that's why we have the expression "sa awa ng Diyos" back home, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the hope. That's the hope
That's
that
mercy. Yeah.
by the mercy of God, like it'll work out. Everything will work out. You know? Yeah. They, especially lolos and lolas. You know how like serious they can be, especially with religion and tradition like that. And because Lola on my mom's side, so Lola means grandma for anyone that's listening in right now. She lives in with us, and you know, one of the big things that she said to us was, "Do your best, and God will do the rest." Right? And we always lived by that.
Bars.
You know, you gotta really put in your effort to do the best that you can in whatever you're doing. You know, it doesn't matter what you're doing, but do the best that you can, and keep a strong faith. And then He's gonna come through. He's going to help us out in the end. You know. So, like,
Speaking of things that you're good at, I heard you were really good at writing and storytelling, Grace.
oh,
Right?
you really?
I think that's fake news.
Oh, fake news.
Oh.
That is one thing I always wondered,
Um,
since you're an only child and like I'm an only child and like a few of us are only child except for Jeff
Oh yeah,
and Carlo.
that's it.
Yeah, it's
Um,
actually only Carlo and I. That
I know from personal experience, like like socializing, since he didn't have like siblings or anything, it was kind of hard to like talk to other people. So, but considering you're pretty like outspoken, pretty outgoing. How did that happen? How do you get good at public speaking, good at communication, basically, besides being your major?
Thank you. That's very sweet. Thank you. I never really paid attention. Like I didn't really measure like, my skills. Like am I successful in communicating? It's more of just like a desire to listen and understand people, I think. And also when it comes to like the skill, I would say when I was in high school, there was this competition that was just like put out there, and it's called an impromptu speaking competition. So basically, there's such thing. So basically, they give you a topic, and then you think about it for 3 minutes or 2 minutes, and then you speak for 5 to 10 minutes without anything prepared. Like it's all in your head. So I basically did that because I have a pretty dramatic story. Like my dad left. He was an OFW, very popular in the Philippines,
Yeah.
popular profession in the Philippines. And because of the distance, like that gets stolen, and he left my mom and I. So I needed to earn money when I was in high school. So I joined these competitions because there was a prize money. But at the same time, I had so many thoughts in my head that I was thinking, when you're young, I'm talking as if I'm like 40 years old. I am 24, but I was just thinking at the time, like when you're young, like so much is so new to you, and I wanted to make sense of those. And sometimes they don't make sense when you don't get them out. So I took those opportunities to speak up, and then if there's anything wrong, I'd love to be corrected. And then I joined like a bunch of those impromptu speaking competitions until I had enough money to go to college, and I actually funded my studies from that,
Oh,
and also and
So it
also
seems like
a
you're
few
winning a
part-time
lot.
but yeah, it was really cool. I think with public speaking or when talking to people, the key is just to honestly express yourself and not try to impress anyone.
mm,
So
To get yourself out there,
it's
right?
amazing. It's amazing.
I'm curious, how many people are like you in the Philippines? Let's say 10 people in the Philippines. How many of them will actually focus on communications? Like 3 people out of 10, 5, 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10. You know?
Are you having trouble hearing what he's saying?
It looks like she's having trouble hearing
I
it.
didn't hear it. Did
Let's
you?
just explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just reset.
Okay, so what Lloyd was saying
Sorry.
was
Sorry. I wasn't hearing anything. Okay, now I hear him a little bit.
okay. Well, Lloyd was basically asking was how popular is like communication and like what you're doing, like people
Oh,
pursuing it. How like are you like one out of so many, or is there a lot of people doing it?
mass communication is a very popular program in the Philippines. I don't have the stats for it, but I definitely think that how like people make fun of liberal arts people,
Yes.
they favor STEM people, like those interested in science and whatnot. So even in my own, let's just put it this way, even in my own university, where where everyone's like so liberated and like so welcoming of like different intellectual capacities and perspectives, they look down on us. Like they look down on communication people. And our like armor was always that when it's time for you to present your findings, you need us and that's your project.
That's
But
accurate. No, that's true.
yeah, so I would say that a lot of people are pursuing it, but I think the trend that I see now is a lot of students who are communication majors don't necessarily know like how to frame it according to what's the hot like job, like what most employers are looking for. Because always when it's communication, you think it's journalism or like you're gonna be in the media or like a script writer or a person who works in a movie, for example. But it's not all that. I think anything that pretty much has a big need for communication, communication major can enjoy that. So it's just a matter of knowing what you want to do, really, and you can mix that with communication.
I think
But
I think the
yeah,
big reason why Lloyd was asking that was because, at least here in America, I don't know if it's the same thing that he was observing, but in my university, the only reason that like some people would look down on a major like communications is that there are some people that take it, but they don't even have a direction, if you know what I
yeah,
mean. Like
exactly.
they're just taking
Hmm.
it to take it, but they don't actually know if they're gonna use it for anything to begin with. And
Yeah,
that
that's a
that's
good
what I
point.
think. Yeah, that's what I think that like that's the stigma behind it, that you're taking a major like that because you don't know what you're wanting to do in life. But I don't think that applies to everyone. Like clearly you're a perfect example of someone who took that major and you're making something big out of it. You're making something work out of it. So clearly that can't apply to all people that take that
Yeah.
major.
On the flip side, of Grace, my sister was actually a communications major, and she graduated this May, and now she's thinking of going nursing.
What a good example.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Flawless transition, actually.
so she's going to
Was it,
STEM.
was it because of a job? Yeah. Was it because of lack of job opportunities
Um,
she did that?
I think it's mostly because she doesn't know what she wants to do, and I think she
Okay.
actually wanted to be a doctor at some point, and I encouraged that, and I told her like sophomore year, like it's okay to lose 2 years if you know what you're gonna want to do in life in the future, right? But if you're just gonna
Mm.
stick to community, because I think she just didn't have a passion for it, main
Okay.
thing, and now I think she's realizing that maybe nursing would be a good opportunity for her. I don't know.
I think
Gotcha.
like
Yeah, I think if
yeah.
you're doing what you're passionate about, money will follow. I don't know if that's true for all, but
I definitely think so because like I have like this like like nursing and all the STEM majors and all that. I feel like it's just easier for the people, just like you get a degree and there's jobs waiting for you. But then there's like other stuff like communications, artists, other stuff like that where it's like you know, the people is like the jobs aren't necessarily there in abundance as like the STEM ones, but like I feel like the top, like the cream of the crop will definitely rise to the top, and like they'll get it done. Like the people like Steve Jobs, stuff like that, they rose to the top because they had a vision and then they followed it. And I think it's like it's just harder for some of the majors like liberal arts and all those people to like get jobs if they're like, you know, I'm kind of into it. It's like the people who's like really
Yeah.
about it, they'll get the jobs, and it's just a little bit harder for the less enthusiastic people, in my opinion. That's why people
Yeah,
go
I
with
think,
safer
Yeah.
jobs.
building on that, building on that, I
Yeah.
think it's like like Chris said, there's a scale of safety. I'd say safety, as in like majors like STEM. When you graduate, it's kind of almost streamlined to where the degree has a lot of weight, and you get streamlined into a job within that field. But then as you move down the scale, let's say even hitting computer science, artists, communication majors, the liberal arts, all that stuff on the opposite side, you gotta be amongst the top performers to even be picked. So it's
Yeah.
like it's kind of like one side is very safe and the other side's like the Wild West. You're like cowboys fighting it out. Yeah, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more competition down there than there is in the STEM major. Like they keep telling us in
Yeah.
engineering, like Harlow and I are both mechanical engineering, and I don't know if they told him the same thing as they told me, but they said, "Oh, engineering is not as readily available of a job as you think." And while that is kind of true, it still holds, like, what Lloyd said, I think is still the case, that you're still more readily able to get a job with mechanical engineering than you would like something else that's non, you know. So I do agree with that job safety thing, but I think that same danger that Chris was talking about, where if you're not very passionate about your job, I think that's the dangerous part about STEM, because STEM is straight up hard. Like there's no, there's no freaking getting around that. Every major is hard if you're not into it. Because if you're not into it,
Yeah.
you're going to be miserable, trying to learn it, trying to get good at it. And yeah, that was the big thing that my dad taught me, because he actually graduated with an arts degree in college, but then he became an office manager for a company. Like, think of like the transition from that. You're an arts major, and he was painting, like, he was painting and sculpting in college, and then boom, now he's an office manager for a company. And it's like, it's as he said, at the end of the day, just do what you're passionate about, because if you like what you do, you don't work a day of your life, right? And that goes back to what you said, where you find the work first and then money will follow afterward. And I think that's one thing that I was blessed with. I may still be in college at 23 for my bachelor's degree, but I know for a fact I want to do this major, so I think I'm okay with that. I've come to accept that even though it's taking me a little longer than it should, I think that because I know this is the major I want to do, that's a blessing that I should be thankful for.
Like I definitely think that with like when you're passionate about something, you could go through all these obstacles, because no matter what, life there's going to be obstacles, and you're going to get hit hard with like,
Yeah.
hardship. So if you're not passionate about something, eventually going to get hit with something really heavy, and it's just like you have no motivation to like push through it. And people who are like passionate about their craft, it's like you'll have the determination to like maximize yourself and like go above and overcome, is what I think.
I'm
Good
curious
point.
if Celeste has that motivation. That's the real question now.
What about me?
Your work.
Yeah.
Yeah, with your work, do you have the motivation to like advance forward through the field, or are you happy with where you're at right now?
Definitely not happy with where I am right now.
All right, well, that's both a good and bad.
Oh god.
Well, that's also why I'm still trying to go back to school, get my master's, and go to a PA route. I don't
There
want
you
to
go.
stay in like as a tech position my whole life.
Mm.
Right.
That also goes back to what Lloyd said, where it's very streamlined. Oh, if you don't like the position you're in, go for 2 more years of school, and now you can go to a better position. There you go.
And earn like twice the amount of money or more.
Exactly.
It's never too late to follow your dreams, America.
Oh my
Where's the
god.
flag?
I'll just edit. Choo!
Chris, edit it in.
Yeah, I will. Kind of going on a little tangent. Has there been any like beliefs that you grew up with? Because like I know like my mom has a lot of these superstitions and beliefs like what's don't clean at night because you're gonna sweep away your fortune or
I am curious of this. 'cause
Really?
Filipinos
Yeah.
vary from
I have a few of them from
So
my mom.
what?
barangay, so you know. I'm curious what we're gonna hear with this one. I think we all have like
For sure had those, right? There's just no distance between the Philippines and the United States. It's gonna remove that. So for me, didn't really like hardcore believe in them because we're Christians, like Bible
Mm.
believing Christians. But one thing that I was very interested in that happened before, so there's this tradition called pagpag. Basically, like you shake
Oh,
off
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
bad spirit you get. When you go to a funeral, you cannot go home because whatever evil spirit was there will follow you home. So we don't really believe in it, but I don't think my family has ever gone to one without like going to another place first. Believe this. It's not to say that that was their intention, but I just don't know if they're subconsciously like following it. But yeah, that's a popular tradition. So don't go home
Right
to do
after.
that, and yeah, like right after, don't do that.
But specifically for Araw ng Patay, right?
oh, is that what
Yeah.
they call it?
Carlo
It's
made
like
it.
it's like a holiday after Halloween. We don't celebrate Halloween that much. We celebrate the day out, the Day of the Dead.
Oh,
Saints
that is
Day.
that's what
Yeah, All Saints Day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carlo made me scared if I ever go to the Philippines, like not to be peeing on any trees or any of that, because he said
Oh,
I'll get
yeah.
cursed.
I have stories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
No,
e-
explain.
even if you're like even if you're a devout Christian believer, like you'll still believe in like spirits and like otherworldly beings in a way. And one of the things that my mom talked about a lot of the time back then was that these spirits are always lurking. They're everywhere, right? So like there was something that we would say, I think it was buddy buddy, but I think that's my dad's what's it called? I think that's my dad's dialect, Pangalatok, that he taught us to say that. Because like one of the things that we do all the time when we go back home to the Philippines, we dedicate one day where we go to the graveyards, right, and or the cemetery, and we honor like our dead ancestors, right? So like all the Prestos of the older generation, because Presto's my last name. But yeah, like it's an important thing, like we honor the people that passed before us, but every time we walk into the graveyard, we always say buddy 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 buddy. It's kind of like a respectful saying so that spirits please don't harm us kind of deal. you know and my mom said you guys have to say it. If you don't say it, they're gonna haunt you, they're gonna follow us back home. I'm like,
Oh my god.
I don't believe in that, but I'll entertain you with that.
Nah.
But
Don't worry,
she
the spirits will get left on the plane.
that's the thing, yeah. And
What?
believe it or not, my littlest brother JJ, when he was much younger and we went to the Philippines, he was actually tossing rocks around, right? And my mom said, "Don't do that! Don't do that!" And then he was like, "What did I do?" And then he kept tossing rocks around, and then what do you know? All of a sudden, he gets a rash on his arm.
Oh
And
god.
it was, like, this is a really big rash, right? Like it was covering like all of his forearm. So then we ended up getting what they call a witch doctor back home, and she did
Oh, dang.
a bit of an investigation on his arm, like a ritual.
Oh
on his
gosh.
arm. And she said that while we were hanging out at the river, where we were just like relaxing, he must have scared away a spirit princess.
Oh,
And
word.
she cursed his arm that was throwing the rocks. I was like, all right, I guess I'm a believer now, because that's the
What
wildest
heck?
story I've
Oh
ever heard.
my god, yo, it's like anime, Anna the princess. What?
Oh, I have a question though. Did your brother actually heal after seeing the witch doctor?
Oh yeah, because she,
Did?
like, she asked us to
That's
gather.
scary.
She asked us to gather some stuff. She asked us to gather like pandesal is the bread.
Yeah.
So she asked us to gather like one roll of pandesal, a bottle of gin, and there was like one other random thing.
Oh, the princess
Yep.
was just hungry.
She mixed
No,
the
it's an
gin.
offer.
Oh yeah, very important.
bowl. She dipped the bread. She ripped the bread in half. She dipped it inside of that mixture, and then she rubbed it around the spot with the rash.
Uh,
And then within the hour, the rash completely went away. Like you
ooh.
didn't even realize it was there. I said, "All right,
Yeah.
I'm a believer now."
Yeah, I'm not
Like,
pissing on any trees over there.
Oh my goodness.
so-
Throwing
Oh my
rocks.
gosh. I think it's really a lot. Like my mom and I were literally like talking about this the other night, and she said that when she was young, there were people like that, and it actually worked. It was very creepy to us that there were such things like that that actually worked, especially in provinces
Yeah, it's
Mm.
in the
only
Philippines. But I think, yeah, I think it's related to Filipino folklore as well. Like that entity, princess, whatever it was, that's related to what Filipinos believe to exist,
back in the
like in the spiritual realm.
yeah,
it's mostly in the province. Because once you have a city, it doesn't really do anything.
yeah, it's not.
You
It's
Yeah.
drove.
not
You
as-
drove all the spirits away.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, with
Legend
the
of Korra.
traffic.
Yeah, but the people doing the construction, they get screwed over.
Oh goodness.
Oh
I
my
heard a lot of stories about that
Carl.
too.
Yeah, Legend of Korra.
See, but like you bring up like that we don't necessarily believe in those things because we're Christian, right? But then my dad has
Yeah.
the extreme opposite end of that, where the movie The Exorcist, right?
Uh huh.
Love that
Yeah.
movie.
Oh,
So that stuff exists in real life. That there are people that supposedly get taken over by demons, and they need a priest to exorcise
Yeah,
the
that's the
demons
thing.
from them.
Mhm.
My dad
Mm.
helped a priest out
Like that.
with an exorcism, and that's why he said,
wow.
"I don't believe in any of the superstition nonsense that your mom believes in, but you tell me about a demon, and yes, I will 100% believe you." Because he said
Yeah,
that
because he saw it. Yeah.
he
No, I
his
have another
stories
story.
Are crazy.
You guys remember Chester? So this is a guy that we know, and I noticed he sleeps with the lights on all the time, and asked him
That's
why.
already scary.
Right? He said, yeah, there's one time he went traveling to some place in the province, and he basically slept in this room, and then he noticed the bed would like lift up, like levitate, and start shaking. So he would wake up, right? And then so that kept happening for like multiple nights. And then one night he actually like wakes up and just stays up like awake the whole time because he wakes him up, right? And he sees something coming at him. After that, he just like kept the light on all the time. Just kept without the light on. Yeah,
The monster under
I'm
the
so
bed.
sad.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Scary.
Oh.
So you're saying that nothing's ever happened to you like that then? Is that what you're saying, Grace? Nothing's ever happened to you like that?
Nothing.
Stories that you've heard?
Nothing. Yeah, nothing happened to me like that. We had a lot of trees as well. Like our neighbors in our province, because we had huge trees. My family even had a farm. So people, like our neighbors, would say that you have to cut down that tree. There's a tree giant, which is part of Philippine folklore. There's
the
this
kind
tree giant that's like smoking. What was it? Like they're smoking cigar or whatever
Oh,
version. You know, capre.
I know
It's called
exactly
capre.
which one you're talking
Yeah.
about, and I don't remember
Yeah.
the name of it.
It's called capre, and then they hang out in your
Oh.
trees. And our neighbors would like go to
That's
us early in the day.
That's so scary. I'm getting chills right now.
Carla, what?
saying that, for example, my mom sings Rosemary, they will say, "Oh, Miss Rosemary, please cut down that tree because we saw it last night," and we wouldn't follow because we're just like, "Man, I haven't seen anything. What are you guys talking about?"
Exactly.
But yeah, that was just a normal thing. I would say that when I was a kid, I used to hear like whatever it was that would just call your attention, it would just go that, and then it came from the tree. So I don't know if that was it or if that was like an evil spirit like mocking whatever Filipinos are believing, and I don't know. And I haven't experienced anything like that, but other people around us did. So
Yeah, the monsters in America don't compare to the monsters. Like, we have vampires, werewolves, ooh, scary, right? Zombies, like, okay.
Yeah, we have demons,
We got, like,
bars and trees,
stuff
man.
in the Philippines.
We have everything. You know?
Oh my
you know
god.
about that one that
Guts and
fly and like
Yeah.
has it.
yeah. My,
Don't know like the English term for it. Manananggalya, and then it leaves the half of its body and go flies away to
Mhm.
eat something. Person.
Yeah.
And it only
Yeah,
happens
that was
during the
it.
full moon, right? It only happens.
no, it's not a full moon. I don't think.
I don't remember.
I think you
That-
just have it whenever they want.
Is that the one that
That
eats
was-
the babies?
That was what my mom said.
They-
Was
So that's different.
That's
There's a
It's
different one?
another one.
a different one.
Oh, goodness.
The baby.
It's another one with a long tongue
Yeah.
that will attack the pregnant woman's belly.
I told Chris, he doesn't believe me. I was
Well,
trying
hey,
to-
I'm not saying I don't believe you. Just like I'm just like gonna be careful when if I ever visit.
You know,
Yeah.
I have a solution for Christopher. When he goes to the Philippines, you have to take him to the region in the Philippines where there's a bunch of reports on these cases and have him stay there. And we leave and go to the city, and then let's go back and pick him up.
Oh, yeah, oh my
After some
god.
time.
I'll be the avatar,
only
bringing
Chris.
balance
Only
to the
Chris will
spirit
stay.
world.
now I'm curious if
Oh,
Leslie
yeah.
has any superstitious or demonic
Yeah.
like, encounters like that too. Then
Can anyone hear me? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. You got,
I haven't had any
Yeah.
superstitious stuff. It's just everything is so mild compared to what I've heard here.
She's like, I want to summon
guys-
Jackson
yeah,
Wang.
you guys are all lunatics.
We're just like, hey, don't sleep with your hair wet. Don't sleep in front of a mirror. That kind of stuff.
But what about what about that whole thing about feng shui, right?
Feng shui?
Like, isn't there stuff that you
Shui?
can't
Feng
you
shui.
can't do stuff that's wrong? Like
How-
there's certain stuff you can't do together because it's bad balance or
Oh.
something like that.
Yeah,
So
to
then
an
you can all-
extent, it's like you can't. Like if like how you have your mirrors in the wall. Like I have my bed here, but I can't face my mirror because otherwise that's gonna like bring bad luck or something like that. Bad energy. I don't know what.
Just like Animal Crossing, you feng shui,
Yeah.
bro. I know only because of
Oh
Animal
my
Crossing.
God.
Oh, there you
There's
go.
like don't sleep with your hair wet.
Grace is
You're gonna get
giggling a
like
lot from
you're gonna
that.
get headaches for the rest of your life. That kind of stuff. I
number
don't know.
4.
What?
Isn't the number 4 not? You shouldn't use
Oh,
that, or number
yeah.
3.
Preferably don't use the number 4. If you can get number 8 in like whatever's like your license plate, everything like that. Try to do that. It's just like very small, petty stuff.
Wait, what's wrong with the number 4? Or wait, does it
So-
have something to do with death?
Think so.
Yeah, because the way you pronounce it, it's similar to the word death in Chinese,
go.
so that's why they're like, hey, let's not use this and just not like bring that bad energy, bad luck sort of thing.
Oh, I know.
That's
In
kind of like with Christians and the number 6, but instead it's like the 666 number, because that's the number of a demon in hell. Like you're not supposed to say that number, because technically you could summon that demon, apparently. So the number of the beast, they say.
when you said summon something, I was thinking of like Beetlejuice. So you say it 3 times and then he comes around.
Oh,
So
Beetlejuice is going around.
Like, this is not that scary, you know?
no, I'm just saying. It's just I was thinking of like Ted when he's like, "Yo, we don't want that guy here."
Yeah.
But
Like, yeah, so whoever was the one, I think it was Carlo that said American superstition and monsters can't compare. Like the worst thing that I could think of was like, I don't know, Bloody Mary in a room, right? You say Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
Have you
and
ever
then
tried that as a kid?
bro, I'm not trying to find out.
Why
I
do you want
did
to try that? What?
I did it. I looked in the mirror and then I turned around. I said, "There's no one here." So, all right.
Can you guys explain Bloody Mary?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good point. So, the superstition apparently is that I don't remember the origin of why she was known to be Bloody Mary, but they say that if you're in a bathroom or anywhere with a mirror and a light, if you make it dark, or if you turn on the light first, you look in the mirror and you say Bloody Mary 3 times in a row, and then you turn off the light and you turn it back on, you'll see the spirit of Bloody Mary behind you.
I
Apparently,
thought it was just if you
then-
went into a dark like room with a mirror and like it's dark and just like say it 3 times and then like she's gonna show up in the background.
Oh, was
That's
that
how
it?
that's how it was interpreted to me.
Oh,
You
you
know,
guys, man.
Maybe I was doing it wrong the whole time. Maybe I didn't
It's like
summon
not
it,
working.
I did it incorrectly.
I remember I tried to do it with my friends one time, but I think we got to number 2 and then we got too spooked and then we just ran out of that.
See, you
Are you
guys are
in-
the people in the scary movies who get killed because like I've been tested already. So we were going to like rake some leaves at this house, right? Turns out the house is abandoned. It's middle of the day though, but I'm like, they're like, oh, let's go look inside. It's an abandoned house. See what's inside. I'm like, I'm gonna stay out here and be ready to call 911 when I hear screams. I'm not going in the house because like the rest of the group went in the house, and I was like, me and Denzel are gonna stay outside and just in the sunlight.
I wouldn't go
And
in.
that's the question, Grace. Are you into horror movies and that kind of like
Yeah.
terror type?
Very much so. Very much so.
Watching
I
with
really
Marjorie.
Like it. I really like horror movies more than anything. But I think lately it has kind of switched to like the horrors of like what people can do to you if like you see the current movies that are out. But yeah, I was definitely into those things, especially in the Philippines. I don't think you can get past All Saints Day, like Undas, where people gather in cemeteries to be with to their loved ones who have passed, without like watching any specials about ghosts and evil spirits and all that. It's a thing. It's part of. Sometimes it's even part of the news. The special part of the news, or like random stuff happen in different regions. Like they will report that stuff.
It's definitely become a part of the culture to be spooked
Yeah.
like that.
Sure.
Speaking of culture, what are your thoughts on American food portions?
Oh
Oh,
man,
here,
this is
here. Yes. I want to hear about this.
I haven't gained so much. I went study there. Like that was I like it so much because I eat a lot. You can ask Christopher. Like at Utica, I don't think I think most of our interactions we were eating. I was eating, and it was just a joy. It was just a joy for me because, when Filipinos love rice. And
Amen.
when I went to Utica, I was always saying, this is not real rice.
Oh yeah,
Whatever it is, I don't understand what it is, but this is not rice.
That's also
So I would always compensate with other food that are heavy, but fortunately I didn't have to do that much effort because the portions are so big. What do you guys call it? Like freshman
Freshman
15?
15.
yeah,
freshman
freshman.
15.
Yeah, 15. My goodness. So I like that.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
didn't have a rice cooker to sighing at home with?
No, I didn't have that at all. I didn't have that when I was in Utica. I was just, and whenever I go there for work, I don't really have a hard time adjusting, to be honest. I eat a lot. I'm that girl like who eats anything,
That's good.
anything and everything.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have unlimited rice in the Philippines. I've seen that. That was never a thing back in the days, but when I visited like 2017, they have that.
True.
Yeah.
They've added that now.
They have that in restaurants. Like if you get a certain food from the menu or a certain meal, then it can come with a promo that you can get as much rice as you want.
Gusto mo pang
So
kanin?
if you are eating, exactly. So if you're eating rice with chicken, say for example, the key is you don't eat your chicken in one go so that you can have as much rice as possible. That's a tip. If you haven't been to the Philippines.
My mom was telling me, it's like, Christopher, you don't use enough rice with the food because I have it like 1-to-1. But she's like, you put all the rice and you use the meat to flavor the rice, and she was like yelling at me for it. I was like, but
That is how we do it. So.
I was like, but that's too much rice. It's like,
No, that's the test of being a Filipino. What are you talking about?
like I went to this Filipino restaurant in like I think Mexico or something. They gave me a rice cooker full of rice for one dish. I was like, no wonder it took them an hour. They're cooking the whole rice and like frying it. It was like a mountain. Like compared to American portions, it was a mountain of rice. And there wasn't enough like sauce, and I was like, we're not gonna be able to finish this.
Yep.
Definitely love their rice.
It's all about the garlic fried rice, though. And I
Oh.
know Grace should be able to attest to that.
Best fried rice.
Yeah, I love it. Mm-hmm.
Like people can tell me all about their pork fried rice or their shrimp fried rice from a Chinese food place. I'm like, nah, you have nothing on Filipino garlic fried rice. Don't talk to me, okay? Like, don't talk to me. I can make the Filipino fried rice in 5 minutes right now. If you really want me to. So, well, okay, no, you would still have to steam the rice before you actually make the garlic fried rice. But we'll skip the details.
Yep.
I think that's the true test of if you're a Filipino. If you know how to cook the rice,
Yeah. So
using
much,
your finger.
so much homework. So much homework for Chris.
I watched the Joe Coy special. Oh, actually, my mom taught me that, but when I saw it on the Joe Coy comedy special, he said that too. He kind of outed our secret,
He said, all you
our
need
rice
is
cooking secret.
right here.
I used my thumb knuckle.
Like you want to say something.
Yeah, sure.
Nothing. I'm good.
Wait, Kalesi, how do you cook rice? Do you do the thumb method, or do you do like you measure it out like
I
a psychopath?
I think some people do it with the thumb method, but I kind of just like put my palm on the top of the rice, and then like I think if the water goes up to here, then I just like okay, it's good.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
it's about the
I
thumb.
do that too.
See what I do? I can do that, but I generally just because it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so I use the same cups. I put the, I
Oh,
put-
you're Americanized.
yeah. I'm like, there's no need to get my hand wet. I mean, it does get wet, I guess.
You
But
have to wash the rice regardless. Your
yeah,
hands
that's
gonna
true.
get
That's what
wet.
I was thinking. Like, you do have to get. Yeah, you're
Oh
right.
wait, you could be that guy who washes the rice after you cook it. You
BBC
see that?
No, the BBC.
Oh,
That is
yeah,
fine.
the BBC video.
That's a crime against humanity right there.
Their rice after they
So they
steam it.
cook they put it in, boiled the water, cooked it, and then they washed it after in a straight. I was like,
Oh, God.
no, like there were millions of Asians crying out in horror, and they were silenced.
Yeah, there's a lot of Filipino words you can use to describe somebody like that. But oh, Grace, you're aware of I'm pretty sure you're aware of Filipino profanity, curse words, right? You should just teach them to everyone that doesn't know any.
Oh my goodness. Don't use them at all. What do we have? I wouldn't say it's not like it's a profanity, but it's sure used. I think it's like so common these days to hear from people, even the youngsters. So this is not really a profanity, but it's kind of used like that. So they create an abbreviation from the Mary of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
Oh, my mom
Say
says it all the
Sus
time.
Maria Joseph.
Yeah, there you go.
All Filipino moms. A lot
I
of
never
Filipino
thought of
moms.
that. Oh my God.
You
Oh,
didn't
you
know
never
that that's
knew
what it
that
stands
that's
for?
I thought it was just like a. Oh my God.
Dang.
Wow, that's crazy.
Carlo, where have you been, man?
It's like a term.
Yeah.
Like, it never it's so common that you don't even think twice what it means, what it actually
Yeah.
is. Wow.
Yeah. It goes, it goes against the commandments of the
Yeah, right?
Bible, but yeah.
It's not like I never thought of that as a. I thought. It never like clicked to me. Oh, it's Judas. Oh.
It's not even Jews. It's Joseph, Mary, and Jesus
Yeah.
put together.
No, yeah. Like I'm using the other one, the Judas.
That's their name.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
DC just got it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
Oh my
we're all learning something here.
Oh, I'm gonna call that stuff.
Even if we're all
Oh my
Asian, we're all learning something here. So, unfortunately, we can't see Lloyd's camera. but at least we can hear him. So
I was
So
watching.
Grace, what do you, I was gonna ask, what are your thoughts on toilet paper?
For-
Oh,
this is
toilet paper.
This is a controversial.
Alright, so a toilet paper. Great question, because I did not understand what the deal was of it. So I have a European best friend that I also studied in Utica College with, and he's from Finland. And he's all about like the importance of toilet paper and all that. But the thing is, in the Philippines, like we have this dipper. In Tagalog, it's tabo. That's what you need to have if you don't have a bidet. Like when you go do your deal or whatever, like number one, number two, whatever it is. So toilet paper is not really a necessity in the toilet, I would say.
Can you imagine getting
About
the
you guys.
fight over toilet paper when COVID-19 came out? Because I heard people were getting into fights over that, and I was like, it's not that big of
They
a
were
deal.
getting over exactly for us, but I guess if that's what you're used to.
That was the joke that my family was making. That we were looking at the people on TV, going crazy over toilet paper, and then we all just looked at each other and we started laughing. We didn't have to say anything because we just knew.
Yeah,
We're Filipino. We don't need that.
exactly.
We don't need toilet paper. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? So, just
Hmm.
tabo and a source of water. Okay, you're done. You're good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's important to make that point that we're clean. Okay, like if we don't have, we may not have toilet paper, but we have like a source of water. We have the slipper, everything to clean ourselves, and that's enough.
yeah, it's a lot cleaner than toilet paper. But I use toilet paper in America.
I use
Help.
I use a combination of both. Like the way that I do it is that I wipe myself dry with toilet paper. That's how it basically ends up. You know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But you end up using way less toilet paper like that anyway. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And like Carlos said, it's cleaner, so I prefer it that way overall. And again, that's how I've been taught since birth, basically. So, like they said, tabo. If you don't have a tabo in the house, you're in trouble. So, you gotta go look for one. Actually, Celeste, you use toilet paper, don't you? I was about to ask. A bit of a personal question, but yeah, there you
Of
go.
course it does.
I mean, we don't have a bidet in the house, so.
Okay, that's
When I
fair.
heard of bidet, I was like, that's just like a fancy towel, and I was like, what the frick?
Have it, yeah. Have it here. We also have. Well, there was this one time that I went to a government office, and I always think of government offices as really run-down places because I've been to some. So I wasn't expecting to see them, but for the past years, like all the government offices that I've seen have them, like in the public restroom. So it's a thing now, I guess. So you're updated.
Would you
Manila,
use it
at
though?
least.
Would you use it though?
Yeah, I would use it.
Always
I
wash
don't
your
know.
hands after. During COVID-19, I'm not too sure.
Oh.
That's a good
Yeah.
point, yeah. I mean, yeah, like what she said, like, you would think that in a Jollibee, which is the Filipino equivalent of McDonald's, because it's every corner you see a Jollibee, you would think that at a Jollibee, they're not gonna have a bidet there. No,
They have a bidet in Jollibee?
they have a bidet in Jollibee, and I'm just like,
In the Philippines or in America?
no, in the Philippines. in
Oh,
America.
okay. I was about to say, it's like if there's bidets in America, I was like, what?
Oh no, if you have a bidet
On
in
the
Jollibee
Philippines,
here,
yeah.
there's gonna be a homeless guy that takes advantage of that.
Oh.
But back home in the Philippines,
Oh, that's
like, dang, your hiney is gonna be clean, even after you eat that yum with cheese or that palabok combo. So,
Oh.
you're good. You're fine. So,
Okay. So since you've been helping people when, like, to travel abroad, to go study in the U.S., what has been like your most, like, useful tip that you've given them for studying abroad? If you have
that's a
to.
great question. Yeah, I think my tip would be to prepare ahead of time and just be I think because when you apply at the US universities, you're preparing yourself to answer a bunch of questions so that the admissions committee will know if you're a good fit for their campus, all that. But I think so many students get ahead of themselves and try to find the perfect answers for those things. But when in reality, the questions that you have to first answer are from yourself. You have to ask yourself, where do I want to go? What kind of class size do I want? What do I see myself doing in 5 years, if there's anything at all? What kind of weather am I used to? Am I used to the snow? Like stuff like that.
Yes.
So I think those are important questions to ask so that you're putting yourself first. Because if you're not gonna, pick a place that's a good fit for you, then you risk the opportunity of enjoying this very thing that's like an investment from yourself and your family. So think of the questions that you have, and if you don't have any questions, time to think about those, because that's how you will know what you want. Like with relationships as well, it's kind of like matchmaking. Like trying to find if the university or a person is a good fit for you. Ask questions.
Those are really good advices, Grace.
That
Really
is
good.
really
Okay.
Yeah. So you said snow. You mentioned snow, and I was just thinking,
There you
what
go.
what was your reaction when you first saw snow?
Oh my goodness, I was
That's
so
so-
excited. I really loved it. I wish I could have stayed there because I haven't. I've only seen that in like Narnia, Harry Potter, like all movies. Like I didn't know what it was like. And when it finally happened in New York, like I was waiting by October, when is it gonna happen? November, when is it gonna happen? And the first day it happened, there were just like areas where there was snow, but it wasn't like the whole fields. I was a little disappointed, like it wasn't falling as much as I hoped it would, like in the snow belt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I first, actually, my first day of snow, there was a snowstorm. Surprise, surprise. It was Utica. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I loved it. I played in the snow with my best friend. His mom actually sent him a pair of Uggs so that I can go into the snow and play it. Because I didn't prepare for it at all. Like my jacket wasn't a real jacket. It was kind of like just a jacket you wear in the Philippines if you want to look good, but it wasn't like good fit for that kind of weather. So I was super excited, and yeah, it was fun. It was fun seeing that. You will find a lot of Filipinos like upload photos whenever they would be in a place where there's snow, just because it symbolizes also that you have traveled such a great distance, that you're in a good position in life, because all the like media stories about people who have been successful build up to that, that picture that you're there. It was cool.
Yeah, that's
Liked
the
it before it killed me by December. Yeah.
that,
Yeah, you get tired of it See, I'm tired of snow. I don't like snow anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what
It's
it
like the
is.
first 2 or 3 days is really awesome, but then when it stays around for 3 weeks, you're like, it can melt already.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
and it gets all dirty too. That's the only, like, the first snow and it's like fall, it's like nice and white and nice and clean looking.
Yeah.
Then it gets all
Yeah.
dirty. I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
That is the same
True.
thing that my cousins say though. They say that like if there's one thing that they would look forward to, like in a dream future where we make enough money where we can bring back like the whole family of cousins and aunts and uncles to come here to America instead of us to the Philippines, just like one big family vacation here. They said that the biggest thing they look forward to is experiencing snow for the first time. I said, I don't know if you want to experience snow.
No, you get
Are
them
you
to shovel.
sure?
And they said, no, we don't care. We want to experience it. I said, okay.
I would take advantage of
Yeah.
that and make them
Did
shovel.
you?
So,
Yeah. Did you guys know that in the Philippines there's this place called Snow World, and you will pay for it so that you can experience the fake snow inside. And my school used to take us to that place every time we have a field trip, so that we will feel cold and that there's snow.
that, I mean, mm, people are okay with that though.
Oh, we're
Like
losing people?
they know it's fake snow, right? And they're okay.
Yeah.
How?
They are, and then they will take your photo, and then they will sell it for such a high price. Um, because they're the only ones who have a camera. Like they will take away your camera at the entrance,
Right.
and then they will capture your photo inside with a bunch of snow. And yeah, that's the thing.
How close is it to real snow? Like the fake snow? I think of it as shaved ice, but what does it look like?
Shredded paper.
Is it like actual ice?
It's actual ice. It's actual ice though, and then they also include ice sculptures inside for the like feel of it and whatnot. It's actual ice. It's just that you have these machines.
Yeah, it's like the same snow
Throwing
they
that
use
to
for
the ground.
skiing.
So it's literal halo on the ground without the halo inside of it.
That one,
Oh,
yeah,
never mind.
exactly.
What?
Actually, the one they use in ski, they use the snow and just pump it up. I think.
That's
Something like
insane.
that. I don't know.
to me.
Yeah, that one. I've seen that too.
Nice.
Now I want to see what this indoor fake
Uh.
snow looks like, since I know
I
what real
think-
snow looks like.
I think I'll just laugh. I'm like, oh, this is a nice attempt, but we get too much of real snow in New York, so
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because it's New York, we get a fair amount of snow in the wintertime, so we would probably laugh at it. But I still want to experience it now the next time I go back home.
Yeah.
I need to look
It's
for
fun when you see people that aren't from the capital, like kids enjoying it because they're from far-flung provinces and that's their treat to themselves, or at least
Right.
given by their parents. I think it's adorable because sometimes the things that we take for granted are such big things for other people.
For sure.
Yeah, the weather back home. Always nice outside. And by
Oh.
always nice, I mean it's always hot outside.
It's always hot.
The weather it's either hot and sticky or it's hot and dry. There's no
Oh my
in
goodness.
between of that.
That's so true.
Oh man. Hey, actually, but over here it's been very wet and sticky lately because it's hurricane season right now.
oh yeah, they got
Mm.
2 hurricanes coming to the U.S. right now at the same
I
time.
joked with my
Really?
cousin.
Oh,
Yeah,
stay
see?
safe, you guys.
Thank you.
Well, it's getting to Florida and Texas, New
I
Orleans.
joked with my cousins. I'm like, it feels like back home over here. We're getting storm after storm. They said, nah, it's nothing compared to back here. Don't talk to us. I said, okay, that's fair.
True.
But they are right though that because sometimes it'll rain over there, right? For like 3 days in a row, nonstop, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's heavy,
Yeah,
heavy. rain.
yeah.
And it's like legit.
Heavy rain.
So it's
Yeah,
not a-
there's a lot of flooding. Exactly. When I was an international student, you know how like when you're in a country and your Facebook algorithm changes and you only see stuff related to that country, and then when you're back home, you see stuff related to your home. So when I was in Utica, a bunch of my classmates at home were like liking photos of like students being waterproof because they have to still go to the university and they're in the middle of this big flood. So students are soaked because of the flood, and that was the meme. But when I studied in Utica, while that was happening, I also saw other posts from people at Utica College, and it was this photo of someone having a hard time going through the snow. And it was just like this big difference. Like I'm pretty sure that was ours was worse, but yeah, the thing.
It's definitely worse with the snow. Like, because I don't know how you traveled from like where you live to your campus, but walking on ice is hard.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
Hiking
also
on
true.
ice
Yeah,
is also very hard. So either
Yeah.
way, it's very difficult.
but Grace, have you ever slipped and fell on ice?
no, I didn't.
You haven't
Should
experienced
I
snow
have-
then.
did I miss out? It's the guy who didn't, he never had true Filipino mango telling me I missed out on something.
Oh, well, well, I'm just saying you clearly haven't experienced New York until you slipped and fell on ice.
No, I haven't. But fun fact: one of our international student classmates when I was there, actually on her first day, saw like a pile of snow, jumped
Uh-huh.
into the snow and slipped, of course. But she thought that it was gonna be soft or like hard or whatever. I don't know.
The
what she
hard,
was
cold
expecting.
reality.
Yeah.
Hey Grace, can you roast Chris more?
I actually told him that when he said, "Oh, do you want to join us for the podcast?" I was like, "What is it going to be about?" And then he goes, "Oh, it's about Filipino culture, like growing up in the Philippines versus in the United States." I was like, "So this is an invitation to roast you?" Hey.
We have to roast Chris.
Why do you have to roast me? I'm the nice editor. I could always edit it out.
Good
Roastable.
friends roast your best friends,
True,
right?
true. I won't lie. Do your
I heard,
worst.
cause like when we were in like college, you know, like what sophomore year and stuff. Like, I heard like Chris's like first impression of you, but I've never heard the impression of your impression of Chris. So I would like to know. Yeah.
What is it?
Bait. It's not even funny. It's such heavy bait.
This is good entertainment, you know. This is
I know,
entertainment.
it's really good entertainment.
Oh
Like,
goodness.
No, but I really just wanted. That's like the first thing I would ask you, like, "Hey, Chris, huh?
it's good.
Like how you guys first met, all that stuff." From your
Oh.
perspective,
Let's see from her perspective. I want.
Right?
thoughts on Chris and whatever.
Because I had this conversation with Christopher before, and we had a different recollection. So I don't know if this is right or if this is the answer that Christopher gave me, but this is what I remember. I remember being in Strebel Hall, where all the students go, and I was eating, and then he came. But I don't think that was right, but that's my first like memory of Christopher, like him approaching me when I was eating, because we have met elsewhere before, and that's when we had a conversation. I think, but that's probably not right. But I just remember like this is such a like he's such a cool guy. Like he's someone I can talk to and very grounded, which I really like. Because I've met some some people who were like trying to be impressive, you know what I mean? Like or too cool, like I don't care. I think that's I like that about him.
So you're
Am I
saying he was
right? Was that the first?
What you say?
What?
What?
was he dorky or something? Is that what your
Oh,
impression?
he wasn't dorky because whenever I would spot him, he's always carrying his sports.
Oh
equipment.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I always thought like this guy is passionate about what he does, he really enjoys what he's doing. I thought he was like a happy-go-lucky guy because it's probably like even in the worst day for everyone, he was smiling. Like he's always just like smiling. He wasn't smiling at nothing. I mean, just like he had this bright face, like energy and all that. That's just cool.
Yeah. Did you like his jokes?
Oh my god.
What?
all of this is just
Oh no,
I really
no, his jokes. No, I'm just kidding. His jokes were really. I would say. I can't describe
What?
that.
Very Chris.
Do you guys,
It's
do
very
you guys
Chris.
know? What is it?
No one else
Do you guys know like how there are jokes that are bad? It makes them good because they're so bad.
Yeah.
You're trying to say I tell bad jokes? I tell dad jokes.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying?
You're just funny.
joke. Yes,
I get.
so, I like that. It was I don't think anyone can go against that joke.
Mm. Yeah, Chris always complains that no one laughs at his jokes or no one gets his jokes.
No, in Utica they don't.
but, yeah,
You guys
but
right
that's
over there?
probably because we've gotten used to your jokes so that we understand it. But no one else would get it. That's what I was trying to point
Yeah.
out.
Okay.
No, they're just highbrow.
Yeah. So
What are
I'm
you
not
talking
sure.
about?
Was that the first time we met? I'm not.
Okay, so well, that's the first time we really talked because there was
Okay.
a fair
That has
like
to
for
count for
clubs.
something.
Like there was a table for
Okay.
ASU, and like all the clubs are outside of Strebel, and that's where we first met. So I was like, oh, nice to meet you. I mean, that's pretty much all we did. But then later on in Strebel, when we're eating, I was hanging out with. I forgot her name, but one of the other international students. So I was sitting with one of the
Cobra?
international students, and you guys came. I think I don't remember who. I think it was you and Nick were there, and then you were
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about the Philippines, and I was like, "You're from the Philippines?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm Filipino too."
Okay. Yeah.
And then you went, it's like,
Okay.
"Oh, can you speak Tagalog?" It's like, "No." It's like, "Then you're not Filipino." And I was like, What?
That's where it all began. That's where it all began.
Yeah. I was like that with him. Like I never let him off the hook at all.
And then I remember the next time was there was supposed to be some Hawaiian thing in the bottom of Strebel, but then it looked empty. So I was like, typical Utica. So I was like, and so I was just walking around Strebel, and then it's like, oh, she's like waving at me. So I was like, oh, it's good. I think it was her and Sung, and it's like
Oh, yeah,
then we started
that one
talking.
I remember. Yeah. That was the night I was talking about because I remember talking for a long time. Yeah, I remember that. So yeah, that was my impression of him before. What did you guys hear? Anything I should know?
Anything.
Yeah,
else?
that sounds about right. But I guess, how did your friendship grow? Like, how did you develop your friendship? Because that's something I'd never heard about. Because Chris just talked about like the base. Oh yeah, we met here. There's this, this Filipina. She's great. She's an international student. Super nice, stuff like that.
How
the
did
big
our
thing-
friendship grow?
Right?
Well, I do remember I missed the bus to go back to Ramada because I didn't live on campus technically, so I lived like a mile
Because
or so down.
No, that was not the reason why he missed. The distance isn't the reason why you would ever miss the bus. It's because you decided to stay late.
Yeah, and then the
It's
bus
just like,
hours
I'll hang
were
out
bad.
It's fine. Yeah.
Like I
Go ahead,
think
continue. I'll find other holes in your story.
so. It's like what it'd be like the bus would stop at like 8 o'clock or something, and then it's like that sucks because I can't stay on campus. So it's like I missed the bus. It's like what 9, 10 o'clock. It's just like I guess I have to walk back to the camp to the Ramada. And then one time, Marjorie, and I think Joe was like, "Oh, we'll walk you back." But I was like, "That's a far walk."
Yeah.
So
So
they
you guys
walk.
But it was scary.
Yeah, he told us stories
That
about
is scary,
how
yeah.
the walk is kind of scary.
It's just
I know,
empty.
Right? He's insane. He's insane. Your friend is insane.
The
Don't do
first
that.
few times
Yeah.
it's scary, but then once you know that that's actually a really nice part of the neighborhood, you're like, "Oh, it's just quiet and empty."
It's dark. Nothing is a nice neighborhood. I don't know what's out there.
No,
I-
it's
I-
not
Yeah.
as bad.
Well, she's mostly going off of like the vibes from back home. You have to
Oh.
be careful when you're walking in the dark back
Yeah.
home. obviously.
Yeah, you got you got spirits that follow you home and all that.
Yeah, you don't.
All I got is darkness and some skunks.
Mhm.
That's really.
Oh, that's yeah.
Because I was gonna.
So I guess it's
Oh, because I was just gonna say that like the big thing that I remember hearing from Chris was that because because he met a Filipina at Utica, like that was his big like tipping point in terms of motivation, because it's kind of like what you said where there's quite a bit of people that you didn't really associate with, right? But then he finally met someone that he felt he could much more easily associate with. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
That's
of
really
that.
cool. Although I remember Christopher just like getting along as well as we did with everyone. I feel like he spent so much time with each and every one of us, which was really cool.
There were a lot of international, like
Wasn't
Natsu and
yeah, he would
them.
spend time. Yeah, like you talk to them, all that. So it was cool. But I think for you, like, was that where our friendship grew? Like when we walked you to what could have been your death?
I thought it was a pretty cool adventure, and then it's like I would see you guys at the library, like that was like the hangout spot for all the international kids, the library. So I knew it's like, oh, before I like go back to the Ramada, let me go stop by the library see if anyone's chilling there. And it's like, oh, let's go. And there's like all the international kids, like Natsu, Shogo,
Yeah.
who else?
Japan. Yeah.
Who else? There was a lot of kids.
Obviously her as well.
Yeah, Grace.
Yeah.
Grace was there, yeah.
Oh, Katie and Leah are going to be on the podcast later on today. So we also met Katie and them.
That's awesome. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think you were really see, so I think like Christopher had this like fair
Big
balance
group of
between
friends,
like
yeah.
all Yeah, exactly. Very diverse set of friends, which was cool. Yeah, but I think for me, what I felt like our friendship grew because Christopher would like take the time to meet with me whenever I will travel to the States. Um, we've kept in touch like virtually, but it's so different, when you're there in person. And I wouldn't meet like with everyone I've met in the States, only a few people, and then Christopher will always like be free, happen to be free around those times. So I really appreciate that.
Did you know that Chris had you were kind of like an inspiration that he actually started learning Filipino, like the language
Yeah.
Tagalog? Yeah, I don't know if you knew
I
that. Like
didn't know that.
Chris never cared about our
Did you
culture.
hear it?
What? What are you talking about? I love the food.
Yeah.
I love like the people.
Yeah, but you never oh, I want to learn how to speak.
That's
it,
because I was
understand
getting bullied. I was getting bullied. Ironic.
like,
The one who was afraid of being
that
bullied is the one
wasn't-
bullying.
But yeah, but you meet Grace
Oh,
and you're
that
like,
wasn't
yeah, let me learn all
bullying.
these Filipino words.
Yeah, you did that in your on your own. Wait, so can I hear some?
Oh, there you go.
Oh yes, Chris.
Oh, the new word I learned yesterday was well, I kind of knew it because I was watching this video where this girl does a prank on her boyfriend. So her mom is cleaning, right? And the boyfriend's getting something out of the fridge, and she smacks the mom in the butt and pretends nothing happens, and the mom thinks it was the guy. She's like, "Bastos ka!" And then she's like starts like yelling at him, saying how he's like bastos, and I was like, "Oh, I know that word now." It's like you're rude, you're nasty, something like that, right? Pervert, yeah.
Good job.
Learn. I learned all the bad words.
I'm proud of you. Good job.
Filipino 101.
But it definitely takes some time getting used to the language again. Like obviously speaking as someone who's still learning right now, like even though I try to use it every day with mom and dad, they still laugh at me all the time when I try to use it. And I know that that's just part of learning it. I have to get laughed at by mom and dad
Oh.
in order to learn it. So, the big thing really is they say that my accent is garbage. So, they said that your accent,
Oh, I don't think so. But okay.
because like they say that if you spoke like that back home, it doesn't matter that you're speaking Tagalog. They know that you're from America. I'm like, can I really control that? Like, come on, Like, Carlo here says that I sound like I'm Chinese when I speak Tagalog, but I mean, I can't judge because I don't know how I'm supposed to sound like, or rather, I know what I'm supposed to sound like, but I don't know how I'm supposed to change it to sound like that.
You're getting better, Jeff.
You did
Yeah.
say that, but you said
Oh.
you can still hear it,
It's not that bad. My last question for Grace is: did Chris ever explain to you?
Where's this going?
I'm trying to word this carefully.
This is
Oh no, like after you left, things have gone downhill in terms of like international, like Chris felt a little sad.
That's because a lot of the international students
Yeah.
like left all that semester. Like Natsu left, Kaho, Shogo. No, Shogo
Wasn't
stayed.
because of it. It was because
Yeah,
of
the whole group, the whole
group,
squad left basically after that semester, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's like all my friends are gone now. It's like, crap.
So did you feel the same way?
Mm.
Did you feel some sort of way leaving after your study abroad?
Yeah, definitely. It was heartbreaking, leaving everyone. The night when I left, actually, my closest friends you guys were there, crying outside the car where I was about to go in. And remember, there was this girl. It was like I don't want it to be like controversial for some people, but there was this. It's this. I'm sure like Christopher's followers are gonna see this. I'm never gonna include this, but there was this girl at the time, like this guy that asked me out, and I didn't because I was about, like it wasn't the time for that. She was like so happy I was gonna leave. So like out of all the people who were crying, before I left the building where I lived, and the car was right outside, she was just like, "Bye." good luck. Like, like she was so happy and everyone was so sad. So it helped that the last people that I talked to, like, can you imagine if that was my last goodbye? That would have been really sad. So outside the car were my closest friends, and we cried, and there was snow falling. Like, it was very dramatic, and I didn't want to cry. But I finally like just cried harder when my one of my best friends as well, Joseph, who lives in New Jersey but studied in Utica, cried because he never cried. So I cried so hard, and when I entered the car, the driver, who's like this like big guy, like stocky, very like serious looking, turns to me and says, "You have I just watched the whole thing. That's a great friendship." And then I said, "Yeah, I know." And I cried all the more. That was the worst. I've traveled to so many places at this point, but that was the worst trip that I've ever had because your heart's broken and your mind is not in the right place. And it took me a while before I can move on, but it helped, it helped that Christopher and other people I've met actually kept in touch with me after. So it was a bit of a transition, but I got there. But it's okay. I think when you're in pain because of relationships you have to let go of for quite some time, it means that it's really meaningful. So it's a good kind of pain.
Nice.
Then you probably got some inspiration too from that Bruja girl that's trying to tell you goodbye.
I didn't really mind. I didn't really mind, but I guess you cannot avoid like having high school drama in college. People are who they're gonna be. All you can control is how you respond to them. And at the time, I was just like, it's a
Suplada
weird thing to
siya.
do, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you described that, it sounded like the
Mm.
plot of a freaking
K-drama.
novella already.
Or yeah.
It was crazy. It's a lot of stuff that happened that, oh my goodness. I had an experience about this guy who was trying to ask me out, and I told this to Christopher last time we talked, but he didn't know about.
Oh, this guy's a
And he
really
talks to
funny.
this guy. Yeah, and
Continue.
I wouldn't like go into the full details, but this guy like followed me into the library and found my missing library ID, and then he said, "Here's your ID." And I was like, "Okay, thanks." Then before I could reach it, he just said, "What? Wait a second! Like, if you go out with me, I'll return your ID." And I was just like, "That's my lifeline because that I need that for the dorm, I need that for the cafeteria, the whole thing." And then he started to grab my notebook and he was taking a Persian class, I think, and he was writing like "I love you" in that language, and he was just like flirting and all that. And it was really scary because he's like a tall guy, and pretty like he has a good network in school and has I don't know if it's friends or like lots of coffee. And I texted my best friend without looking at my phone, and he came running because this guy is his, someone he's close to, I would say. And he stood out and walked away. But that was really scary for me because he was saying like, "You have to come over to my house. I have a piano there. I heard you like piano." And then it was so messy. Like it's such a high school thing to happen in college, and he was talking smack about this guy who he's friends with and didn't want to tell me that he liked me, but he was confessing on his behalf, which was I think that's such a pardon my French, but like dick move, for you to do that. If
Oh,
another guy wants to
not
keep it a
that.
secret, yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
So let's
That's not that rude.
yeah,
To say.
be nice to people. Nice to people because they're gonna remember.
Yeah, for sure.
That's some creepy stuff right there. No.
Oh, if you
Yeah,
see
and-
this guy's picture, it was pretty funny, bro.
The funny thing
Like,
is, Christopher, when we talked last time, apparently he also found this guy creepy. And we
Oh.
were just all like thinking it, but no one's like coming up with a consensus.
I remember that time in Strebel with Sung and them. Sung left, and Natsu and I think Kaho came. They were talking about that guy, and then they were complaining about him, and I was roasting him too. So it's like, oh, we were like laughing about that at that time. So this guy's like, oh man, he just seems like he wants to sell you something. Basically, that's the vibe he's got. I'm like, it's like I know he's about to tell me something. That's like, what?
Yeah. And later that night I came to my best friend's house and he went there uninvited, and then he sat next to me and said, "I heard you're going to a trip with your best friend. Like, I have to be with you guys. Can I squeeze in?" Like all that stuff. It was weird. But yeah, just be prepared when you're an exchange student, I guess.
I mean, you know, like it. I guess it's because it's a rare commodity too. You know, like you said, within being an exchange student, the population of that school only really got diversified because of the exchange students. So, like, that guy probably didn't know how to act
Oh, he was an
around
exchange student too, I
Uh,
think.
exchange students because he just got so.
here, yeah.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'll say it's because he got nervous.
No.
So,
No, this guy was like that with he just has that vibe, that sus vibe. Yeah, it's like you could tell he's got that like I want to sell you something type of vibe, and you could tell when he's walking up to you. You could tell he's like, what does he want to sell me? Like I feel like SpongeBob.
the way you made it sound, you really made it sound like this guy sounds like he needs a little bit of help with social interaction. So,
Yeah, perhaps. It also helps like with the intention. Like when you approach a girl, there has to be some sort of respect. Well, like that's the main thing for me. It just doesn't apply to this guy, like just in general. But as someone who was new to that like setting, I'm not in my home. I don't know a lot of these people. Like that was scary because he also held position in like an important student organization. So I was kind of scared. Yeah.
That don't matter here. I'll be like,
It's like,
well, speaking of here, Celeste, has that kind of thing happened to you actually? Since you're not an exchange student here, like has a similar situation happened to you? Because then maybe you can make the connection that it's just a thing with females in general, that you'll have to deal with something like that.
oh, I'm so sad.
Can you just like reiterate like what specifically about it?
Oh,
has
because,
anyone been
like,
creeping or simping on you?
because Grace gave a story essentially of like a creepy an interaction rather with a creepy guy, right? And it's basically a creepy guy trying to make a move on her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like invasive, or not even almost, it was invasive at that
Yeah,
point,
invasive for sure.
right? Like, have you gone through an experience like that? If you're okay with sharing something like that?
I don't think anyone creepy has kind of like approached me. It was like probably just like a mutual friend, and then they start chatting. I was like, I'm like trying like just like thank
Shut
you,
these
no
simps
thank
down.
you, bye.
Interesting.
But otherwise, like I just didn't talk with a lot of people in general, so I don't have that kind of.
So by keeping yourself a little more shy, you actually avoided any chance of an interaction like that happening.
Well,
Right,
I
I
guess
guess.
intentionally kind of just shut them down really quickly and be like, okay, thanks, bye, like, woo.
Okay, hi, and then at the same time, bye. Okay.
You-
All right. I mean, I'll give it to Grace as well. Since she's a communication major, I'm pretty sure she tried to give the guy a fair opportunity.
Read the
But
nonverbal cues
unfortunately,
and all. Yeah.
Bye,
Yeah.
sorry, I have to go.
unfortunately.
All right, thank you for coming, Celeste. We're about to wrap it up anyway. Does anyone have any more questions before we start wrapping it up? Any more ideas? Or
What would bring you back to America for a visit? Out of curiosity, would it just be work related at this point, or would you seek out like a vacation to come here? Because like,
Oh,
since you've
yeah, for
experienced
sure.
it already, you know.
Yeah. For all the work trips that I've had, I always made it a point to give myself a vacation. Just selfish thing, but I
Oh,
would
no.
like take 2 weeks off work and I would just travel. Like that's just start getting foggy. I don't know why, but yeah, I would I would travel to different states that I haven't been to. So I was actually planning to go to the states, and I talked about this with Christopher because I was scared because of the stereotypes with Asian people being in the states while there's this COVID-19 that a lot of people think are a fault of a certain nation when it's something that no one actually wanted to happen. I was about to go there in New York and explore a few other states to go state hopping, but I got canceled. So I think I would definitely go as soon as this whole thing is over or is manageable to a certain extent because I just like it there. I think there's always something fun with being in a place you're not familiar with. I've just always been that person. I like adventures. I would say though that a very real struggle that a lot of young women have, or even women, in general, is having to Google safe places to go when you're a solo female traveler. It's because there are certain states that I cannot go to on my own just because of the stats on rape, on girls who have been killed while they were staying in a motel or hotel are pretty high.
Yeah.
So those are like real challenges for me. But it's fun. I don't let it get in the way of like what I want to do. And the United States has so many amazing things to offer, which is always like a big plus having to work for U.S. Philippine initiatives and all that.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
hopefully we see you soon in real
Well
life.
Yeah,
said.
see you guys soon.
If you ever
Hopefully.
decide to come to New York, you have
Great
the whole Mango squad
That's cool.
to welcome a legitimate Filipina Mango here.
Oh,
you
thank
know.
you.
Oh,
And
you
then
don't
we'll
consider
have
gel one?
Christopher- Have Christopher sing the national anthem.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, okay, we'll do that.
And
Oh.
Grace,
Oh,
I'm learning the language, and that's still hard for me to try. Okay.
Christopher can do it. You'll do it. Thank you. I'll take that as a yes. Your silence is golden. Thank you.
Oh gosh. All right, thank you, Grace. This has been episode
Thank you
6
so
of the
much.
Mango Podcast.
Yay! Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for spending your time.
Is this the part where I go like, oh, check out my blog?
Yeah, you're writing your
I
videos.
don't have any at the moment. Just like keep supporting the Mango Squad. They're awesome, as you guys know,
There you go.
and you don't want to miss out on awesome content. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
she said it
Any
was
shout
great.
outs? People,
Two
shout
viewers.
out to our Utica College people, I guess.
Tune in for next week for more exciting stuff. This is Carlo. See you next time.